What's up, everyone? It's another episode of Who Are They? Spin from the Real. Once again, I am Matt, and I'm by myself right now, which that's not going to last. We got two special guests coming on, and Chris should be here shortly. But I just want to say thank you guys for all the support lately. The channel's been growing at a tremendous rate. We really appreciate all that, and it's been fun. So I'm trying. Chris is like, start without me. I'll be there in a couple minutes. It's like, bruh, I don't like doing this alone. It feels weird because this is a sports show. It's a sports show. You need that back and forth to be like, hey, this is what I think. Well, here, let's push back on that a little bit. So I'm sitting here for the show. I'm waiting for Chris, and this is gonna be a weird start. So yeah. Whoa! Just like that, saving my ass is the one and only quiz show.
Sorry about that.
Oh, listen, you're fine, Chris. Like shortly after you text me, Chris is like, "Yo, by the way, I'm recording for Chris's sake tonight. I'm gonna be late." I'm like, bruh. I'm like, really?
Yeah,
Really?
sorry about that. But I'm here.
You're here. How you doing, quiz show?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
That's good.
It was one of those days of you didn't want to do anything, you didn't want to move.
Yeah, I totally understand what you mean. I got just lots of work, lots of calls, and then I mean, sometimes good things happen. I was messaging with you earlier. I was lucky enough to somehow get in on the PS5 restock on Walmart last Thursday, and they said it was going to get here by April 13th, and it's here today, which is not April 13th. So,
see, my brother was told it was going to be here on April 10th, so I laughed because yours was scheduled for after his, and it hasn't shown up yet.
Yeah, no, my friend who told me how to get it, she got the digital version. I got the physical version, the with the disc.
Yeah, my brother got the physical version also.
And so she ordered hers before I placed my order and told me how to do it. And she still has, all she got was an email saying thanks for the order. And that's all she's gotten. And she lives like a 10-minute drive from me here in the city.
And you're just like, hey, I got my PlayStation. She's like,
yeah, no, I texted her. I'm saying, hey, check your email. I got a delivery. You might have too. And now she's just like, man, I wish that I never told you about this.
Because you're holding it over her head.
Exactly.
I mean, let's be honest. To a certain degree, these things are like a glorified Blu-ray player.
Yeah, I
4K,
mean,
4K, a glorified 4K.
The 4K thing. I mean, yeah, I mean, now I can actually play my 4K discs. I traded in stuff to upgrade because I have a PS4 and then I got a PS4 Pro thinking because it could do 4K. I thought that meant it could do 4K discs. No, it can only do 4K games. But now I have a thing that can actually play 4K discs. So it's like now I can actually play this Midsommar director's cut.
He didn't join the Watt family. He's like Buck. He's welcome on whenever. And unfortunately, he likes Midsommar. So there's that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm like so many other people around.
I thought it was okay. I didn't love it. It's not my type of horror film.
I loved it. I enjoyed it more than Hereditary, but I think Hereditary is a better film. Hereditary also is like, I don't know. Hereditary had a scene that literally made me feel like I was going to throw up. So
I still haven't watched Hereditary, but back when we first started getting into the live broadcasting sphere, Chris and I did a watch along of Midsommar because it was on Hulu. It's like, let's just do a watch along because neither of us are horror guys, and Chris is like, screw it, let's do it. And you can go watch Chris and I freak out, which is still somehow getting views almost a year later. So
hey. It's definitely it's very easy to not be someone's cup of tea, and I think that Midsommar is. I mean, I think Hereditary may even be like a more excessive.
Ferris, all you gotta do is be like, "Yo, Matt, when am I coming on? You're normally doing highlights Monday, and there's a slight little overlap, so I didn't know if you were doing highlights or not. Like, what do you want me to do?"
Yeah, Ferris.
I mean, it's either Ferris's fault or PLD's fault. So
no, always blame PLD. That's the hashtag. That's the trend. You got to go with that.
Oh yeah, no, it's eat shit Ferris. Always blame PLD. There we go.
Yeah, it's eat shit Ferris and blame PLD. That's correct.
Yeah,
now
Ferris,
he's saying
we can get you on in the next couple of weeks.
Absolutely.
Not tonight, Ferris. We'll have you on in the next couple of weeks. But
yeah.
I don't know if he's ready or not because I see him sitting in the background. He said, "Give me the thumbs up." All right. No. Thumbs up, Chris.
Yo. I apologize. I got too busy. I had to have Wanda open the hex for me so I can escape, so I can come do spin from the reel. But we're out here hanging out. What's going on, Quiz Show?
Nothing much. Just got home. Hold on. What?
It's here. It's not lost.
I ordered this like pack of drinks for my wife like a month ago, and Amazon said it got lost in the mail, and now it's arrived. So
what?
she's just real excited. They're like these fruit drink things or something.
Okay.
I don't know. What's it called? Olipop.
Okay. I ordered my
Olipop.
Okay. I ordered. As you see, I have like all the prop collectibles and all this here. I ordered my girlfriend the WandaVision set of rings, so those are showing up soon.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's something. I have props. Just they're here, out of view, on this bookshelf here. A lot of them are amiibos.
Also, your wife's.
Also, a lot of them are Paulina's. So.
Well, Quiz Show, we're happy to have you on. We got another guest coming on around 8:30 because you're like Buck. You don't get to talk Schmoedown a lot. You're normally hosting a show to have people do the talking for you.
Exactly. Like what we used to do was he invited me to come on to his personal channel, and we just started doing play-alongs. I know he was doing play-alongs back with the IG tournament and whatnot, and then I came on with the singles tournament and then the teams tournament. So it was just playing the games every single day. So it was like, oh, we got quarantine. Where the fuck else are we gonna do? Oh, can we swear on this? By the way,
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, how dare you?
All right, perfect.
All
right,
but
hey. So I mean, So it's like, what else are we gonna do? Absolutely, I'm gonna do this. So the moment he invited me and I said yes, I ordered this microphone. And it's been great ever since. And then we realized after the tournaments were done, that's exhausting. Then he said we should probably change it up, and I agreed with him, and I'm glad that I agreed.
Yeah, talking Schmoedown every week can be exhausting coming from experience.
It's not even just talking. It was just like, let's play along to every single one and then judge it as it's happening. Yeah, Buck's right. He needed someone to come on who actually knew the answers to the questions.
Word. I mean, y'all got something great going on over there. Show me the money. We talked about it last week with Buck, and we were giving you all the love in the world. So I'll try to cool it this week before we sound like we're bigger fans than we truly are, even though y'all do have a pretty great concept for a show. I'm not jealous at all. But I'm so glad that we're gonna have you guys on. And like what Matt said, Buck is really who brought it up to me. It's like, yo, look, we just do a show where other people talk Schmoedown. Like, y'all have talked more Schmoedown on our show than y'all have. And it's like, well, sorry. Like, guilty, but now you're here, and we're so glad you are here, Jeff.
And it looks like I might be making my return tomorrow, so it seems right now.
You will be. You will be. That is confirmed live here now. You're making your return tomorrow. So
yeah, yes. I got to step up. I got to step up, especially after last time.
Hey man, we've been taking some advice from people and tweaking things, how to make things a little bit better, and we have a few ideas of things to go on. We're definitely taking at least one of your suggestions into consideration that I think has made stuff better as well. And hopefully we don't have any. We're not going to have any more episodes of collusion in which the two people in the final round collude in order to cause a forced tie, like Chance Ellison and Sean Sullivan did.
We're going to talk about Sean Sullivan a little bit. Let's actually start off with the Star Wars match because our guest is none other than the Amaru Moses. Amaru. And we're going to talk his debut with him. But let's talk about this Star Wars match because I'm not going to lie. I was happy with the result, especially because Sean Sullivan was the guy who went on C2A back in January talking hella shit about the Dragon Con players.
Man, that wasn't the only place that he talked shit on them on.
I know. But
I was on some calls and stuff too. Yeah, that was absolutely where it was. And I mean, here's the deal. Like, you gotta, when you have these kind of people where so many people are hyping them up and they're coming into your league, there are those who are going to be like, we know that we gotta prepare for them and, just give them the respect. And there are going to be those who are going to take the stance of they ain't shit until they've done it. And Sean was in the latter camp. And unfortunately, like many a time for people who try to talk shit, he came up short. I didn't watch the whole match. I watched the beginning and I saw who won. And that's about it. And it's only because when it comes to the matches, one of the things that I'm not the biggest Star Wars person when it comes to like the deep cut things. I'm not as interested. I like to just kind of know the results. I mean, it was kind of funny to see that Sean Sullivan's match started a string of matches last week where the winner won with 22 points. All three, besides all three ones that were released to the public this past week, they all won with 22 points.
No, I'm gonna run with 19.
Did he?
Yeah.
I have the scores written down.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong. You know what? I'm wrong.
No, but still, like, I mean,
I lied. Take it back. We can edit this out, right?
I'll fix it. Wait, we're live.
In regards to the Star Wars match, so I, like you, Jeff, I'm in the camp where like it's harder for me to watch these Star Wars matches because like for Inner Geekdom it's like fun because of course it's the things I like, and singles again it's the movies I like. But like Star Wars, I like Star Wars, I love Star Wars, but like I don't love Star Wars like a lot of other people do. But like for me, I watched this match Friday night I watched this Mancuso and the pay-per-view back to back. And talk about exhausted. Like I was beat. But this match in particular, there was a lot of hype behind it. Not only because of Sean Sullivan, like he's out here talking his shit, and he was close to being Laura Kelly last year in the Star Wars tournament, and he's bested Adam Witt, and in his rookie season in Star Wars, like okay, so Sean knows what it's like to be a rookie in Star Wars. And then we flip out over to the other side with Marie E. Wilson. Now, Marie, like Matt and I had her on our show, and she's been on our show a few times, and she was talking about how she wanted a challenge and how she was talking herself up, and I was over here taking it as she's in the shadow of Thomas Harper, like that big name. You can't say his name without there being all this talk of like, is he as good as he is supposed to be, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then Zach Perquette, he's got a lot of love too, not only because of his online promos with Gold Leader, but like he's out here talking about, I could play all 4 divisions if I really wanted to. It's like, and that carries weight, and that causes some expectation that people are going to obviously talking about. And Marie is just a Star Wars player, but she beat Alex months ago.
Yeah,
and
she's the most recent Dragon Con winner.
Right, and people forget that. So going into this match, I'm over here thinking like, damn, who do I got? The person who's been in the league for a second and knows how the league's played, or someone who had to be taught how the league's played over the last God knows how long, but she knows the trivia, obviously. So it was a confliction of both of these players. And Matt and I, when we did predictions on our show last week, we both had Marie. And maybe there's a little bit of bias, just a little bit, because we had Marie on the show and we haven't talked to Sean. At least in regards, we haven't talked Schmoedown with Sean, so we'll have to hit up Sullivan one of these days. But I trusted Marie's because like not only was she under the tutelage of like a Sam Levine, alongside like the McWeenies, the Liz Shannon Millers, and the Irwins, if they do have those study sessions all together. And Amaru, we just saw him the day before. And another rook who's done trivia already to some degree, we saw how he performed. Was it great? Maybe not. And I bet he'd be the first person to tell you that. And we'll ask him when he gets here. But it's like he still did pretty darn good for his first match. So, especially being under the same faction, I expected Marie to have some type of weight carried with her as well. And here we are. We saw the outcome. 22-20 was the final score. Sean Sullivan missed his last 2 questions.
Yeah. Something that I did notice, it's fun to see trends with stuff as well. I believe when they showed when Sully lost in his last match, he lost again at 22-20.
Yes.
Which is, little things. It's a little things. But obviously, one observation that I had heard, maybe it was during the LGR thing right before the draft. During that whole like what do you think will happen during the draft? Like what do you think needs to happen, et cetera, blah blah blah. That Thursday night thing. And it was this thing about like, well, how hyped up are the Dragon Con players? Are they really as good? And then it's like, well, they don't actually know the game. But the other thing is like, yeah, but and it's like, oh, they're going to focus on so much stuff. They can mix up all sorts of stuff from like the books versus it, and it could be one of those things like what happened with Paul Oyama, where he said the wrong colored shoes for Wizard of Oz because he was thinking of the book. But then on the other side of that, there's the whole idea of, well, yeah, now they're in the Schmoedown. And they no longer have to think of the shows, and they don't have to think about the books. They can focus all of their studying where they've already had to know everything amongst all media and just laser focus on just the movies at this point. And with that, it does make them a threat. Like Marie Wilson, great. Let's see if anyone else can also show that if anyone else can do just as well as her. I think it's interesting, and I like this little wrinkle that they've thrown into the Schmoedown of not just people that know and love Star Wars, but people that are already accomplished trivia players from other groups coming in here.
Right. Yeah. That's what we saw out of Marie. And Marie, I mean, she's human. She missed questions, and it just happened to be in her favor that her and Sean missed the same question. Like Sean had that steal in the second round when she spun Return of the Jedi, but that was the only question she missed out of those questions in the second round.
Yeah.
So, like, obviously she's human. She knows what she's doing, and she made it a point. Which, and maybe this was just her hubris, and she was on one when what's it call it when she won, but she said, yeah, she's like, I knew his 3 and his 5. And it's like, oh, like I get it. I don't like you shouldn't say that. It's gonna rub some folks the wrong way.
See, it didn't, considering how
maybe not to you, but to some it may.
To some, yeah.
You're a rookie because you're a rookie, and you're out here like I knew his 3 and his 5.
But
she made it a point to say that.
Here's why it doesn't bug me, because you had so many people talking down on the Dragon Con players in the Star Wars division of, oh, they don't know what's going on. This is a Schmoedown. It's not Dragon Con. There's going to be slip ups. Didn't happen. Didn't happen.
Yeah.
Now, granted, it seems like Shannon Barney and Sean pulled, and we'll get into this with when we talk more about Jesse and Coy. They pulled a Coy and Jesse from the previous night, and Sean's round 2. Yeah, there should have been a question that was challenged, and they didn't. And it arguably cost him the match because
it would have made Marie attempt to answer her 5.
Yeah.
Because as I did not watch the match, as I explained, I don't know what you're talking about.
So we had, for the second night in a row, we had an incident where a second round question was wrong.
It was the wording of the question was like,
who said this line, or how does this line finish? And the line doesn't exist in the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like, it was a weird moment, especially after getting them back to back. And I know these folks are writing thousands of questions.
Yes.
That's the worst thing. I hate that whole thing of what goes on with like how people react to stuff about the questions. Like they do so much work and they work so hard.
Think about it.
And then like the one time you see an error, which by the way does not happen very long, and it becomes this whole thing of like you notice the one issue and you want to complain all about it. Right. I mean, it's not like it's what exactly happened? What was it?
It was dialogue from the shooting strip, not the movie. And yes, Corey Cameron, we're talking about the Yoda question.
Corey. Yes, it was. I forget exactly what. The Yoda question. That's Corey just said it. Duh. But yes, it was from the shooting
Attack of the Clones, and it was like Yoda says, "Remarkable, the mind of a child." So, and finished the line, and he went to multiple choice, and you were given all these. He was given all these options, and me, I'm like, I don't think that's right, but maybe it is. And when she got it right, I'm like, I remember somewhat of that line. Half of that line does exist in the film. That back half, which you just asked about, did not. So Marie
mentioned.
It was
Marie said that she knew the answer to that though, and she got it right. She stole.
She did steal the question. She stole the answer to that question in round 2. It was a 1-point steal, but at the end of the match, Sean missed his 3 and his 5 that both pertained to Rogue One. He missed them both, and she said, "I knew the answers to his 3 and his 5."
Gotcha.
And obviously, she at least correctly guessed what the
Yoda one was. And if you listen to her on our buddies over on the Ultimate Schmoedown After Show, she's like, I knew that line didn't exist. It sounded familiar, but as soon as he went to the one, I'm like, all right, what sounds the most realistic? And she said, that's how I figured out what to pick.
So even she didn't know it because it didn't matter because it wasn't actually in the movie. So all you could do is guess.
Yeah,
you can make an educated guess based off of something that wasn't there.
The issue is that should have been challenged. And I think the only reason it's rattling people like it has is because technically this is the first 2 matches of the season. Sure, we had the live event back in February, but this is the season really kicking off. And the first 2 matches, 2 nights in a row, you had a second round question.
But wasn't she still down though after
she was still down after getting the steal? Yeah, it was a 1-point steal. So she ultimately it doesn't matter because she was up 2 on Sean. Sean had to hit his 3, missed it, and then he had to hit his 5 because he missed his 3.
So that was a 1-point steal. I mean, the thing was though, it could have been different based on if it was if the question was more accurate, then he could have gotten it as opposed to that, and that could have been the swing. But at the end of the day, though, I mean, like, look, they're human. They're not a huge group, and they're doing so much work. And we know that like PJ and company, they are busting their ass, and it is just one of these things of like when it's this thing with like YouTube comments. I mean, like when you look at YouTube comments, how many of them are negative on so many things, and you know that more people like something. They don't actually go out of their way to share that they liked it. They just watched it and then they're done with it. So there are way more people that are fine and understand the work that goes in, and they're just not going out of their way to like explain that. So, and that's why we hear so much of the negativity.
Cheddar Goblin in the chat, hard to challenge that one. Shannon couldn't have even possibly known that was wrong. A tough mistake. And
is this on Twitch too?
Yeah, we go live to Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I'll make sure to subscribe to your
I was about to say, Twitch right now. Schmo me the money. Might want to consider that.
I'm gonna subscribe to your Twitch right now. Didn't realize that it was on there.
What's the Twitch? Is it Watt under movie reels?
I think it's Watt Real Podcast.
Podcast.
Got it.
And our Twitch. Yes, thank you. Yes, please everyone follow us on Twitch. It'd be awesome. But in regards to the question, it's a toughie. It still wouldn't have impacted the outcome of the match, and it's this weird situation. But I don't like it when people give the writers shit because I think there are like rules to the Schmoedown, the unwritten rules that even though the rulebook came out, it's like, yo, if you are a fan, like what you said, Jeff, like we're only pointing out the bad things. How many times are people going to Twitter, Facebook, and in a lot of people's cases and being like, oh, that question was not good, or that question sucked, in favor of that match rocked. That was a good match. Marie was like, she's a rookie. She beat Sean. Like, we see more negative. Of course, the negatives can outweigh the bad. But when that match ended, even when I heard about this question, I'm like, that wouldn't have impacted the match, and I popped. I lost. I got audibly excited. I started screaming when Marie won. I wanted her to win, and like this is really cool. So like the question at the end of the day, these folks that are writing these questions for the Schmoedown, especially for Star Wars, where we had to get nitpicky with things, like we need to cool it. And they're writing and writing and writing, especially now we're getting more Star Wars matches this year. So now on top of the questions we got before, they have to add new ones. And I'm sorry they have to go to a shooting script for a question. But at the end of the day, it didn't matter. Is it like, do we have to call it out for the sake of accountability? Sure. But there shouldn't be this big discourse where it's like, oh, the writers. Oh my God.
No,
like
that shouldn't be a
it's not
thing.
that big of a deal. Like it's not big of a deal.
Hey Chris, it's gonna bug me if I forget to ask you this again. That Spider-Man on your headphones, is the mic under him or is he the mic?
No, he stops at the mic.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
So he's sitting on the mic.
Yeah, he's sitting on the mic.
He's sitting on the mic. It just okay.
I can move him up and down if I want. If you don't, I can take him off if it's bugging you.
No. I just didn't know if that was the microphone or all right. So you just got this like this pole sliding Spider-Man there on. I understand. Okay.
Yeah, he's just chilling. He's vibing, doing his thing. But no,
Yeah,
that's wow. What are we talking about? Star Wars.
Yeah, ultimately, it didn't affect the match. Marie won. I was glad to see her win because I'm rooting for all the Dragon Con players. We got to know them very well. And Sean, I gotta say, Sean on corruption has rubbed me the wrong way. So hey,
you don't like the Saint on corruption? How dare you? I
love him wherever he is. I love him wherever he is.
I thought it was perfect when they drafted him. I'm like, yeah, sweet. I don't like that he kept the Saint as his nickname, but
he didn't want to keep. As far as I know, he didn't want to keep Saint.
Yeah, I already wanted. As far as I know, he didn't want to. Everything corruption rubs Matt the wrong way. That is correct.
Cheddar Goblin in the chat, thank you. But I still like the pairing between Shannon and Sean. I think Sean's he's still gonna bounce back. He's still a good Star Wars player, obviously. Because Rogue One was a blind spot for him.
He got 20. He still got 20 points.
Well, look at it this way. That 3-pointer, that was a 50-50 question because it's Jin or Cassian.
Right.
Now his 5, that was
that was
a true 5.
The 3-pointer was a quote from Rogue One. And it sounded like, because my guess was one of the leads of the film, but it was he said Cassian. It was really Jyn Erso, and the 5-pointer again Rogue One. I forget what the category was, but
villains.
Thank you. And it was asking for a name of a general or an admiral or something. Mm-hmm. And it's like, are you kidding me? Like it was like I forget I don't even know the answer. Like It was super deep cutty. Obviously, like the Star Wars fans would get this if they.
Oh, a Star Wars question in the Star Wars division. That's a 5-pointer. It's
super deep cut.
Shocker! But I'm over here thinking like, oh my God! And the second he started burning through his repeats, I'm like, okay, like usually it's a kiss of death.
Some people they're just doing that to sell it, especially when it comes to that last question.
Right, and I get it, like the whole show thing. But there are some times where I'm not a big fan of the character work. Like, let me be killed in my read.
Neither am I.
Unless you really need him, of course. Brandon in the chat.
What is the name of the Imperial general who informs Tarkin that there is a rebel incursion on Scarif and Rogue One? That was the question. Rouge one.
Rouge one. Gotcha. It's the first of the makeup trilogy. Understood.
Yes. Thank you, Brandon. See, like that type of shit. It's like, well, great. And Sean blanked on it. Apparently, Marie knew it, but it didn't matter because that was the end of the match. 22-20 was the final score, and Marie, it was an impressive showing. I think she missed 3 questions in the whole game, and in Star Wars, like that still won't cut it for you if you want a belt right now. Like, because what's Alex gonna miss? A question. Like if you're lucky, so of course she have to get back into the lab if she wants to fight for a belt. But for a debut match, I think Marie did really good.
Yeah,
and so did Sean. I'm not trying to diss Sean either. Like I get his
Sean did well too.
Exactly.
20 points is 20
behind
points.
the question.
20 points is 20 points. Like that.
Can't get mad at him.
20 points is like when I play along, 20 points is like my minimum that I want to hit.
Like, because
what's up,
going
Jesse?
on? Jesse Swift in the chat. What's up, brother?
We're actually about to talk about your match right now, Jesse. But we are going to bring in our special guest, the winner of that match. We had Jesse on last week. Only right we have him on this week. Chris, I'll let you do the honors.
Yeah, it's my man. Now he's 1-0 the Schmoedown. His name is Amaru. Yo, what's going on? Amaru Moses, man. What's up, brother?
What up? How y'all doing?
Doing all right. How about yourself,
I
sir?
just learned that I'm not the special guest, so that's cool. I'm just a regular guest, not special. That's fine.
I'm sorry. It's all right. I'm doing well. I just jumped off my show, got yelled at for kicking off Boys to Men first out of a group of 4 R&B groups you can pick.
You kicked off Boys to Men first? Nah, sorry.
What were the groups?
Drew Hill, Tony, Jodeci, and Boys to Men.
And Boys to Men was the first one to go off of that?
For me, yes. Boys to Men's going first. I got yelled about it. No. I got yelled at about it already.
Sorry. I can't have you on. I can't have you on.
Stand by my pick. But I'm good. Came from there over to here. Very excited to be here. So glad y'all asked me on.
No doubt about it, brother. But I mean, we just got done talking Star Wars. Like, in your brief thoughts on Star Wars, because I mean, your faction mate Marie E. Wilson, she picked up her dub against Sean Sullivan. Like, what was did you watch the match? I mean, you probably have to support your faction mate.
I definitely watched the match, and Corey Cameron, that's exactly who I saved. Great job, sir. Great job. But I did watch the match. I am so proud of Marie. She kept her head when she was down and was able to just fight through like you're supposed to in a Schmoedown match. Like, when you're not doing as well as you want to, you got to be able to play the game.
I'm with you, Ferris.
No slander. It's just I would keep the other 3 before Boys to Men. But you got to keep your head. You got to be able to play the game as much as have the knowledge. And she played the game for her very first match. And I am so happy that she was able to pull out that win. I am sad. I really like Sully. And I want Sully to have all the success as long as it's not against suspects. So now he can go perfect for the rest of the time until Marie beats him again in like a championship match or something. So
word, totally. But I mean, what was the vibe going into the season? Because we talked to you not too long after you got drafted, and like going into y'all's matches, were y'all like in the lab together? I mean, because you obviously, both of you guys were familiar to movie trivia in some way, shape, or form. Her with Jack and Con, and you obviously doing your own thing on this YouTube space. So, like, what was the vibe going into the regular season, especially with 2 of y'all having the first 2 matches of the regular season?
So, for me and Marie specifically, we were kind of like ships passing in the same direction on the same team because she had to really, really like focus on Star Wars real heavy. Right. And I feel like if we were in each other's study sessions like that, like I would get in the way of her doing that, and I had to really focus on all these new categories while keeping the other categories. So we kind of were just like, hey, you go do your thing. We'll be rooting for you. But really, especially the rookies and the suspects, like we have got each other's backs. Like I am helping out Frankie and Paige with their single stuff. They're helping me out with IG stuff. Me and Jacob have been going on a lot of study sessions. Been checking in with Marie and Nikki to make sure they're doing all right. And then a couple just full-blown faction meetings as well, just to kind of keep that pushing. And then I cannot stress how much having the first lady in your corner is so helpful.
I bet.
So helpful. But with these new categories, Sam is also killing it now. We didn't have much prep time, but I feel like we had a good bit.
You had like 2 weeks, if I remember hearing correctly, roughly.
2 weeks is not as much as you want for 100 new movies, but 2 weeks, it's better than 2 days. I'll tell you that. Better than 2 days or 5 days. But I was saying, yeah, with those new categories, Sam was able to really, because he'll admit very openly, IG, yeah, Rachel, come here. But new categories, he's like, yo, I can do this with you. So it's been just a vibe of we're trying to come in and wreck shop. that really is, especially with the quote unquote pressure that's being put on us. We're trying to come in and like just come through a blaze and letting people know suspects are here before our heavy hitters come in, just so we can set it up for them.
Word. Nah, and I want to ask our other special guest, because he's a special guest too. Jeff, I want to bring you back into the convo. What's going on, Jonathan? What's up, brother? But I'm assuming, because you say you didn't watch the Star Wars match, you should watch our boy Amaru's match.
Yeah, sorry, I was looking at the chat there. I definitely watched that match. I was running around doing some errands, so I was like on and off during that whole thing. The worst was when I was like halfway through the match, like the Superman question just happened, then I go into a CVS that had no signal and I had to be in a line for half an hour. So it was like, well, this is bugging me. That whole half hour, there's no internet, and I'm thinking to myself, well, that call seemed wrong, and I couldn't check it for half.
Amaru, speaking of that question, I did see the look on your face when he told Jesse that was wrong, because I'm like, you're like, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. It really just comes down to, look, we're humans. We make mistakes. We all make mistakes. Like Jesse has admitted about him having to probably challenge himself. Coy has talked about like the quickness in which he challenged. Because I want to make it clear, Coy challenged. Like he did. He just didn't do it in time. He did what he was supposed to, at least to a point. Coy is a manager of managers. Just didn't get it in time. Harloff has mentioned that he should have gave the benefit of the doubt, but it's the first match, and we're trying to get through it, and like it's just there's so many things going on in your head. Like
luckily, it didn't affect the ultimate points at the end.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it wasn't a deciding factor. If anything, just hopefully when people try to figure out stats for like accuracy, they take that into account that was probably like right. Like that's the only thing that should probably be like twisted there. I mean, it's obvious. Like what you think late 70s movie that had an S there. I mean, it's right around the same time that there was Star Trek the motion picture. It was probably a simple mix up there of Star Trek the movie. You take the motion picture and put on a different late 70s S sci-fi fantasy movie. Right. And I mean, their movie and motion picture mean the same thing. So that is a super honest mistake, and they work so hard at what they do. So I mean, it sucks that the challenge wasn't brought in fast enough. But I mean, look, Jesse knew the answer there, and that still shows that he had it.
And I'm also like, for myself and for Jesse and for Coy, I am also happy that it didn't like affect the match, because it would put an asterisk on me. It would have put an asterisk on Jesse. It would have put an asterisk on Coy. So I mean, I know I'm using like a compliment to set up a punch, but like I beat him by more than 1 point. So there you go.
It would have put an asterisk on your I got drafted really high, and this is how my first match went.
Right.
That's still there. That's still
there. It's still there. It's still there. You both did great, though. What are you doing? Sorry, my cat is. What are you? Oh my God, she's inside the mic. Give me a second. Hold on.
No, you're fine.
But I'm Amaru. I got a bone to pick with you. Morgan Freeman he messed your day up, bro.
God did not like me that day. Morgan Freeman, the voice of God. I
will say this. I'll give you props on the Batman question, because when you take things into consideration, he's not in any of the original 4. But then you're like, could he have been a voice in Mask of Phantasm? Could he have been a voice in Lego Batman movie or Teen Titans Go to the Movies? And I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna get on him for that, because that's something you actually have to stop and.
Oh, exactly. You have to stop.
You have to stop
and
stop the whole broadcast.
Stop and what? Wait, Matt, can you rewind? Stop and what?
Stop and think. You have to stop and think about that.
That's how matches stopped, was how everybody at the table stopped. Even Jesse. I saw Jesse. He was over here thinking to himself too. And like over here, like I'm sitting down right there watching the damn match, and I'm over here like 4? And you said 4. I'm like validated, and then they told you you're wrong. And I'm like, wait, what?
It was 3. You're sitting there, you're like, it's 3 or 4, and you're just.
It's exactly the same sort of now. Like when I was listening, like I got that one right playing along. But I also had the same thought process. I'm like, it's definitely at least 3. Now I'm going through my head and they're like, is it a trick? Is there more? It's the same way. It's the same basic breakdown of the Marisol Gollum question.
Yep.
It's the same thing of like where people know it's at least that one's it's at least 3 that were there. And it's like, is there any more than that? And the answer was because of Hobbit, because they specifically asked that question.
People forget that Andy Serkis actually appears in Gollum in the first one. Yeah,
he's briefly in Fellowship. Yeah,
that's what I think. Because when Marisol was about to try to ask something, I was like, I know exactly what you're thinking. 2, 3, and Hobbit. You're wondering if he portrayed Gollum in his little eyes appearing.
Yeah.
I was like,
there's that hand scene where he's
and obviously we'll talk about that match, but I thought it was an interesting thing that happened twice in the same week for the same sort of like the goal of the question writers, and they accomplished their goal twice that way.
See, and like that question for me, the Batman question. I'm especially because I got the win. I'm okay with this one because it shows, like, as I said, you got to know how to play the game. And the exact thing that happened was it's 3. Wait a second. I know he voices somebody in Lego, but is it Lego movie or is it Lego Batman movie? And if I guess wrong, this is a guaranteed 2-point steal. So let me drop it down to make sure if I do the wrong one, that it minimizes the damage to me.
That's absolutely how you play it.
That was the whole process. Now, when it comes to Sloan,
I was about to say I can't forgive you on Sloan.
Yeah, can't forgive you on that. I mean, I get the mix up there because Sloan is traditionally a female name, but her name's Fox in the movie. I haven't seen the movie in 10 years.
It wasn't. I knew it wasn't Angelina. I knew it wasn't Angelina.
To be fair, this was a steal opportunity. People just forget Morgan Freeman is in that movie.
I knew Morgan Freeman was in the movie. Here's the thing. I am a very huge Entourage fan. And because I'm a very huge Entourage fan, I immediately think of Emmanuel Chiriqui as Sloan, and I'm like, Sloan is a woman. So in my head, as that steal, and I'm like, I'm not going to use a repeat on this because it ain't my points. I'm like, okay, wait a second. Sloan, a woman. James McAvoy, no. Morgan Freeman, no. What woman am I forgetting in Wanted? There's a woman in Wanted that I'm not thinking about as a
It's so funny.
Question?
It's so funny. I've watched all of Entourage, and like I don't think of her at all when I think of if I think Entourage. Like when I think of her as the Palestinian that the Zohan fell in love with.
That's the only movie I can think of her in that.
That's what I think of her with.
So y'all and me, we have different thought processes because I've seen Zohan once and I don't want to ever see that again.
So that was one of the last films my father reviewed before he got switched over to sports initially. And we both wanted to walk out, but we're Adam Sandler fans. I'm only in middle school at this point. We're like, let's see if it gets better. And we regretted it.
It's weird because like it's not a good movie, but I like it. But I also recognize it's not
I like
good.
Him in it. It
is not good at all.
Hey, quiz show. What is the name of the drink? The Israeli drink.
Fizzy Bubble.
Yes, Chris missed that in his match. That was great.
But with that, it really was just like I'm not trying to use a repeat here. I was really stuck on what is the woman from this movie I am forgetting because I haven't seen this movie in a while, and you're not talking about the other main 2 people. So you saw my reaction when they said Morgan Freeman. I'm like, really? I overthought this. You suck.
But your breakdown here, it's a great example of when people talk about stuff like, oh, that question was so easy. Everyone should know that one. But it all depends. Everything. That's where it comes into the whole thing of like, it's subjective. I mean, it's not something along the lines of like, what black and white Holocaust movie did Steven Spielberg make? Like that sort of thing is like, anyone should know that. That sort of thing is you're taking not only the fact that the name Sloan is primarily used like a woman's name, you also have your own fandom of something where there is a prominent character named Sloan, and that colors your perception of the question, and it skews you to think of one way, and that's how it ends up messing you up. It's a great example of how like not every question is tailored for every single person.
Like, and I had the same thought process. Like, instead of Entourage, which I mean, I'm all about the like, oh yeah, like I'm all about Entourage. But when I think of Sloan, I think of Ferris Bueller. So when I heard the question,
Sloan Peterson.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, like Sloan, like she's a lady, obviously, because like you know, I haven't seen Wanted. I confused it with Salt. Believe it or not.
I will give you this. Angelina Jolie is the only notable female name in that movie. Other than that, you have an actress named Kristen Hager and another one named Lorna Scott.
That's where my head was at. That's where I was like, there is not another. Who am I forgetting? And that's where my brain was like, what woman am I forgetting in this? This doesn't make sense.
Was that a 2-pointer or was that in the third round?
That was second round. It was the
second round.
That was second round. So I mean, when you think of that, you think of it wouldn't be someone who's like the most difficult one. Probably they would do. And I mean, he's a supporting character. And what got me to Morgan Freeman relatively quickly was knowing that Angelina Jolie's name was Fox, because it's just like the one like weird kind of detail, because it's not a normal name that sticks out, but it's the word villainous, because I always remember villain is Morgan Freeman, and he didn't necessarily have anyone other than Angelina Jolie, and I knew as someone who, and then she obviously changed.
Well, he had Common. You can't forget Common.
I just fucking forgot Common.
Yeah, he had a crew with him, so like that's where my mind was like, what's the small character that I'm forgetting?
See, the only reason, so villainous, and when I hear the name Sloan, I remember towards the end of that film where James McAvoy's character is walking in the building and just screams Sloan because he just found out about everything.
Yeah, it's been like 12 years since I've seen that movie.
It's been a minute since I've seen that movie.
I'm not one to revisit Timur Bekmambetov films.
It was one of those things where at the time it was on HBO a lot. So like I was what was that, 2008. I was 14, or excuse me, I was 13.
You were prime wanted demographic.
No, it's absolutely that sort of thing of like, sometimes a movie comes on and it's on like constantly. So you're always going to remember it. There was a study session that I was in with some people, and a question that I wrote because I knew that it fit with me. I didn't know if it would fit with these people. And the question was, what comedy film features supporting characters with the names B-Rad, Bloodbath, and Tree? And it's Malibu's Most Wanted. And I knew that because it was on every fucking weekend on Comedy Central.
You said supporting characters though. B-Rad was
no, not supporting. I'm sorry. Just it features characters.
I was just about to say. B-Rad. Bro, I know that's Malibu's Most Wanted, but B-Rad.
No. I didn't mean to say supporting. We were just talking Morgan Freeman there, but we're featuring characters with the nicknames B-Rad, Bloodbath, and Tree. And I knew that, and it clicked with me because it was on all the time. It's the reason why I happen to have seen Corky Romano. Otherwise, I never would have watched it. But it's that stuff that's always on. It's always on Comedy Central on the weekend back then. So I mean, that's it. That's how Wanted. Same thing. Sometimes movies are on constant rotation.
Well, let's get to the third round, because realistically, you did great that first round. You went 9 out of 10. Like, can't really complain about that.
I'm gonna give. I am gonna complain about that because
you missed the Wizarding World question. I should give you a little. I remember. I'm not gonna miss a Wizarding World question at all. I'm gonna go 100 on Wizarding World.
I'm pretty sure I've never said 100. I said 95 because I know Fantastic Beasts exists. I just didn't imagine it would be my first miss in a round one question.
How much you want to bet PJ heard you say that, and that's why I did it?
I have been giving PJ props and crap this entire run after. Just be like, PJ, I hate you, but I respect you because that's a question. That's a 2-point question in round 2, but that is a question.
What was the question?
It was what country was the Thunderbird? Yeah,
so the way they set it up, it was basically in Fantastic Beasts. So I was already like, well, crap, sure. In Fantastic Beasts, Newt has a Thunderbird. So in my head, I'm like, Frank, Arizona. It's one of those two. That's one of the two answers. A Thunderbird named Frank. Okay, cool. Well, it's going to be Arizona. That he is trying to escape from captivity.
No, it's Germany.
Smugglers from what country? And I was just like, are you crap? Are you shitting me right now? Yeah. You're asking that question. And I was so
What was the country? Germany?
Egypt.
Oh yeah, that was like.
I was like one line. I'm like normally that would be reserved for like the third round or a middle. I'm like
second round.
Yeah, second. Yeah.
Right.
But I was literally going through every possible answer I knew, and then he said that, and I was like, man, PJ, PJ, I see you there. So I'm always be slightly annoyed about that because I mean, I again, 95% of where
you know what you got to do now, right?
I'm waiting for an exhibition match to murder people. That's what I'm waiting.
Well, I was about to say you got to show up those two Wizarding World films. I understand. Crimes of Grindelwald is a chore. That's a chore.
Yeah.
At least the first one is somewhat enjoyable.
You want to know what's funny? The first one may be somewhat enjoyable. I find the first one to be so abysmally dull. I don't like either of them. But I somehow like Grindelwald more because I found it more interesting. And I think but here's the thing. I think they're both awful. So it doesn't really matter. They're both bad. So somehow I'm like, I'm not going to revisit either of them. So it doesn't matter. But
I'm gonna have to disagree there, bro.
Matt,
it doesn't matter. They're both bad. So
Matt, I agree with you. I know what I have to do, but the one thing I am not going to give away is what I'm actually doing.
Right.
So, y'all take that with y'all will. I'll be doing what I'm doing.
What Amaru's really doing is taking a nap.
But remember, he's okay. for your debut first round, both of you guys did pretty well, really well. So.
Yeah, I told Matt this after I watched y'all's match because last week we had Jesse on the show. Obviously, since he participated in it, he knew how it went, and it was released to patrons. And Matt and I, we didn't watch it before the show because we didn't want it to sway our opinions on the match.
We also keep a tally of who's winning what's the scoreboard for the week, which right now it's 5-5.
Yeah, we both had Amaru winning because I mean, you had a lot of pressure on you. Both of y'all did for different reasons. But I was fascinated at not only how y'all both played the game, especially after talking to the both of y'all, but both of you had great and I would go as far as saying great showings in your geekdom.
Yes,
because Jesse's out here he was on the show last week carrying the flag of don't forget inner geekdom, and you are the walking embodiment of like I went second in inner geekdom to a faction who lacked inner geekdom heavily when I joined it. And I'm the guy for it. And you went out and had this performance. And I mean, it was 1916. It was still a relatively close game, but you came out on top regardless. So like after the match, I guarantee, did you have some type of relief? Like a weight was off your shoulders, or are you still feeling that pressure?
The biggest thing going into any match I'm in is if I can avoid answering a five pointer, I'm good. So when he had his 5-pointer, I was just like, please don't hit this. Please don't hit this. Please don't hit this. Because anybody can miss a 5-pointer at any point in any time. Doesn't matter who you are. And I really like all props to Jesse, but he knows this is what I was thinking. I could not come out losing to Jesse Swift in my first match. I just couldn't. And like the thing is, I knew, and I've said this again, and I will continue to say this again and again and again. I knew the work Jesse was putting in. I know how much work he was putting in. And the fact that like I wasn't having the greatest of matches because of that round 2, going into round 3, I was like, man, I hate being this close, but I have the lead. So I just need to hit my 2 and 3, make him hit his 5, and then hope he misses so I don't have to worry about it. So when he missed that, the second he went, I was like, thank you. Yes, because it is not a T for it's always Ed Harris. The answer is always Ed Harris. So I was very happy.
I skipped a beat when you said that right now.
Oh, yeah.
It's always Ed Harris.
It's always Ed Harris. It really is. So yeah, the relief was there during the game. I'm being real honest though. I try not to have the pressure to be the number 2 pick. Being the number 2 pick, I'm still like, I let everybody else carry that pressure, tell me I have that pressure for me. It's not the pressure of being the number 2 pick. It's the pressure of making sure like I live up to what I live up to what I can do. Forget what everybody else says. I live up what I can do, and I live out to what my my people think I can do. And that's really all that matters to me in terms of pressure.
Nah, dude. And when that Snowpiercer question got asked to Jesse, and like that, people were giving it my man shit all left and right. It's like, how'd you not know Ed Harris?
PLD's so disappointed.
Right, like when Amaru just said PLD's, or he said Ed Harris 3 times, and PLD's hard to say.
Oh no, PLD's sad about something. I'm so sad that we weren't able to make him happy.
Yo, but like Snowpiercer as like that 5, it was I mean like what Jeff was saying earlier in regards to Star Wars, like those damn questions are subjective as hell. And I know we'll get to them when we talk to pay-per-view 5s, especially them damn pay-per-view 5s. But it's subjective as hell. It's so subjective. I'm like, yo, I didn't know what that was. So
I knew the answer during the match. Yeah. But if that match would have happened 3 weeks prior, I wouldn't have known that answer 3 weeks prior to that match. So it's a legit 5-pointer because Snowpiercer is a singular movie that you either have seen or you like, I know I should have seen this movie, but I haven't yet. And that was for the longest time what Snowpiercer was for me. So it's a legit miss, especially if you haven't seen it or you haven't seen it in a long time. So
yeah, I mean it's like I know it, but I've seen the movie a couple times. And like most recently was leading up to Parasite. I watched all the Bong Joon-ho films, Bong Joon-ho. So I mean, like, yeah, it's Snowpiercer it's not the most beloved film. There are a lot of people that really dig it, but also like when you think about Snowpiercer, a lot of people discovered it afterwards. It wasn't a movie that lots of people saw because you think about the distribution. This is a Weinstein release, and Weinstein wanted to cut it to hell and wanted to add like a narration, and Bong Joon-ho said no. So he ended up because Bong Joon-ho got final cut on it, he fucking buried it. So no one hardly actually saw it in theaters. Right. And then it's about like who's been able to find it since. And sometimes when it was put onto VOD at the time, it wasn't as popular as VOD releases and streaming are now. I mean, obviously, you watch it anyway. You guys see it because it's on the list.
I haven't, but you got to remember the popularity in that film also did rise with the TNT show recently.
Yeah. It did recently, but also TNT isn't necessarily like the biggest network, but for that sort of thing. But it has, especially now, some of it's also dropping on HBO Max to check out. But I mean, then again, like for those that are watching, they're like, oh, Jennifer Connelly, Daveed Diggs, Sean Bean is the character, I believe, in the show. So yep. So I mean, it's not necessarily Ed Harris would definitely be more difficult than the average graphic novel thing, simply because of the history of the film and its whole release pattern and the way people have had to discover it. It is definitely more of a cult hit that's grown over time than it is like a legitimate big budget film that everyone loves. Yeah. Also, Bong Joon-ho's great. So
totally
Bong Hive.
But Amaru, obviously, you took the dub, and again, congratulations, brother. Corey Cameron in chat. Netflix is pushing it in the last year or so too. That's why I watched it.
I saw it pop up. Yep, yeah, that's why I watched it when I was reading everything leading to Paris.
Wait, we still got you, Jeff?
Yeah, we got him. He's just
cool.
He's just coming in a little bit choppy at times.
But yeah,
so are you?
Like you take the dub, and you're like Sam Levine's first W of the year. And the suspects, like y'all got a lot of potential.
Sam Levine wins Manager of the Year because of these two matches. Or excuse me, Manager of the Week. Wow, I'm tired. Manager of the Week because of these two matches.
That was correct. You got the right Manager of the Year coming up.
Hey,
slip was correct,
bruh.
Hey, man!
I'm a Sam Levine fan. I am a Sam Levine fan. I was lucky enough to interview him literally a year ago today, just about. But yeah, I'm a Sam Levine fan. I'd love to see him succeed. But
Sydney White,
Sydney, yeah, I'd have to agree there. Sydney White, and then I found Freaks and Geeks a couple years later.
Yeah, that's why I say Sydney White, not Freaks and Geeks. I don't want to say I've been a fan of his for 20 years because I didn't watch Freaks and Geeks until like 10 years ago. So.
Yeah, but no, Amaru, just happy you got your first dub, bud. That's it's incredible.
Congrats
You guys are on the right path. Aren't you guys in second right now?
Currently, because of
Mara.
Merle's win.
And Merle.
Because
and
Merle
Merle.
and Mara.
And Mara, because of both of those wins. So that we are now in second. Yes.
Even though you're the undefeated faction, the 2-1 faction had 2 heavy freaking matches right away, and point wise is right there.
Yeah,
and hopefully you get. I mean, at this point, like you know what you stumbled at, and I guarantee since y'all did that match, you've already watched those movies you missed tenfold. But before we let you go, brother, what's next for Amaru Moses? I'm curious. I mean, obviously we don't know, and I don't know how much you can say, but for you personally, just for what you want to do in the Schmoedown, what's next for you after this W?
Very honestly, I don't know who's next. I don't know what match is next, so I has not been scheduled yet, so don't know. First and foremost, suspects wise, I believe Frankie and Lomas are this week.
And they're this week.
So
I'm about to ask you. You got another suspect.
I'm ready for 3-0. Let's go, Frankie. I am ready for 3-0. Because I really want Lomas to just not. I'll stop it at that. I just want Lomas to not. So if he loses, that would be lovely. On top of it, letting Frankie do that, yes. I said it at the end of my match. It's got to be 20 points or better in a win. Now, if it's 18, 17, 16, 19 in a win, I will also take that. Yeah. But it's got to be 20 points or better in a win for me. I just want every game to improve. And when I get to a point where I feel like, all right, y'all have seen me like at my best when it's not a perfect game, I just want to feel as good as I did the last match. If it's less points, if it's more points, even if it's a really, really, really close loss. Because it's really difficult to go undefeated in, especially in IG. Shouts to the fan league legend, Adam Collins. Again, I will always point out that he ducked me in an IG match right before he got picked up. So always, because we had an IG match scheduled and then he got picked up. So I'm just gonna say that he was ducking me. But love you, Adam. It's really hard to go undefeated. So even if it's a close loss, as long as I feel as good as I did my last match or better, that's the goal. It's always the goal. Finish the year off better than I started. So,
I mean, and you saw the new categories first implemented in that pay-per-view match we got a couple weeks ago with Mara and Chandru. But this upcoming week, not only do we have Lomas and Alvarez, not only do we have Ellison and the Kid, but you got Saul and Humphrey in our geekdom. And I know like you had to have at least an eye on this match. Maybe you just go and sleep every night with one eye open because Saul has been getting a lot of love going into the season, and that could be someone you play next.
Yeah, realistically, that could be someone he plays next.
Look, Saul like both John and Saul are great, but I feel like Saul has a like chip on his shoulder and did not get the love. Maybe not the love, but he didn't get the opportunity because of a very close loss to Hannah. And like when I watched his match last year, I was like, okay, Saul knows his stuff, like really, really knows his stuff. So if that's the next match, I am definitely going to come in as prepared as I possibly can because I know that man is a beast. If Humphrey is my next match, I will be just giddy as all hell because them boys is hilarious. And I need to make sure that like as the questions are going, I focus on the questions. But in between the questions, in between the round, I'm just gonna enjoy. But as soon as the question gets asked, full focus. But yeah, I love the rejects. They're hilarious. But I'm ready for whoever comes next. I really am, and I cannot wait. Sorry, Christina, I cannot wait until I can play Hannah because I really want to. Really want to.
I think everyone wants you to play Hannah because we all want to prove that Hannah's a fake. So.
Yeah. Hey, but don't you remember? Isn't he part of like a power couple that's going to take over the Schmoedown? I mean, in order to be a power couple, don't you have to like win? Win?
Don't you have to be on the same faction first?
I'll let y'all take that one. I'll let y'all take that.
Okay, seriously, I'm gonna one more question before you go, and this is for the other guys to answer if they want to. Before your match, we got to see the return of one Andrew Guy, and we got to see him his character expand on a little bit more in later cutscenes in later days. But I don't know when you found out. You probably found out. We found out the whole Andrew guy stuff. It's like, man, where do we think Andrew's gonna go? Like, actually, better question. How was the reaction to seeing Andrew guy before Amaru and Jesse?
So I didn't see that cutscene. I didn't see that cutscene until everybody else saw it. So like, it's not something they played before our match when we recorded it. So I was like, okay, cool. I specifically enjoy this because Andrew guy's gonna get a lot of eyes on our match. So yay. Right. So yes. But I'm liking so I'm like y'all. Like some of the storylines they gotta hit. A lot of them sometimes they don't. They gotta hit. This one I am enjoying. Him thinking I want to see where this goes because I'm not I'll be very honest. This whole Schmoedown, but this one I'm intrigued in this one. And I want to see what happens for sure.
Well, yeah, that Schmoedown thing is like great. You're building it up. You're building it up. You're building it up. All right, now you're switching course. Now you're doing this. Oh, now he's just crazy because of quarantine. And then suddenly this. Now it's back again. All right. Do you want to explain what it is? No. Okay, cool. It'd be great to I guess I'm sure at some point it will be somewhat expanded if they keep up with it. But I mean, like, what kind of conspiracy can there be? Wasn't there already a conspiracy behind all of Anarchy, and then it ended up that Christian was actually in charge the whole time when we knew he was in charge? Or is it going to be that time that I mean, now Grace is suddenly in charge of everything there? Oh, is that a part of it? Is a conspiracy that there's a conspiracy with someone in charge? Because we did that before. So very interested to see if they're going to do something different.
It's Ellis in charge. I'm just saying it right now.
It better be damn Ellis. Like, come on.
It's Ellis in charge. But
I will say I loved I did love Anarchy, even though I knew what was behind it, and I love Grace. So I'm actually really excited to see both of those.
Anarchy was a lot of fun. Anarchy was great. I just mean like the results of it. Hopefully it's not going to feel similar this time. Yeah, like at the end of it was like okay. I mean, we know that in real life, so I guess
was the reveal. It was great until Christian was the reveal.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Mike behind it was great.
I mean, that'd be very funny if they somehow got Robert Kirkman, creator of The Walking Dead, to actually
Jesse Swift when he's trying to guess Robert Patrick saying Robert Kirkman.
The Costco whiskey. Let's go.
Hey, Costco whiskey's the shit. I had to have it in Chicago, and I work for the company, but it's the shit.
Nice.
You just exposed your bias. But look, Amaru, thank you so much for coming on the program. Congratulations on your W, dude. You know you got some fans over here spin from the real, and whatever you got next, brother, like, you know, all eyes on you. And we'll carry that. We'll carry that weight for you, that number 2 weight.
I appreciate it. And I actually very much so, because I don't like bring this offer out like specifically to people. But if either of y'all want to go on One Gotta Stay and start arguing right before your show,
I told you last time.
Please do.
I am down.
Look, if you see a video of mine that you like, and I don't reach out and you're like, I want in, let me know. I can't wait to argue with y'all. It's gonna be so much fun.
And by the way, we want to reach out as well in order to see if you want to come onto our channel that we got too. We got Show Me the Money.
Yes, sir. Reach out for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
right.
I don't want to pimp out my stuff on your.
No, go ahead. We do it on yours. Go ahead and do it on ours.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
you're right. Plug master. Right. But again, Amaru, thank you. And the next time if you do a One Gotta Stay with Kanye West in it, I will defend it to the day I die.
Yeah, no,
I've had one, and I have one coming. So. I
stay away from Kanye. You want to travel into MGK universe? I can meet you there.
Chris, when I go back to Kanye, look up my old one with producers. But when I get back to Kanye, I'll hit you up.
Kanye, we'll talk about it later.
Just go ahead and watch. It was a lot of fun.
Well, thanks, Amaru.
All right, y'all. Peace.
Thanks, brother.
Good one.
He was probably. Oh my God, producer Kanye's. Yeah, Amaru Moses. I mean, he's 1-0 in Geekdom. I mean, all the pressure, and I know he's talking about the pressures. He's not really thinking about it. He's not really carrying it with him. And I know we're gonna be the ones that really like not carry it, but talk about it. But he looked great in his first match, and Jesse. And I'm not trying just trying to save face with Jesse either, because I know my man's in the chat. But like,
Not anymore. He's gone.
He gone. You
can talk shit.
He had to drop out.
Like that son of a nah. But Jesse had like both of them had great performances, and when they follow up, I want to see how they play. Now I'm curious more to Jesse than Amaru, but I mean we'll see how that goes to Inner Geekdom.
Yeah, you want to see what happens if there's a chip on his shoulder or anything like that. Like it'll be very interesting, especially because the comments that he's saying there in the chat when he left, he's like, "Here's looking at 20 plus from both of us from now on." So that they both have goals that they want to accomplish outside of just the idea of winning. They have ways that they want to win, and that's going to be very interesting to see.
And then first match jitters, like I guarantee both of them were nervous as hell. And they're both fans, they're genuine fans of what we got going on, and they knew of the product before they even got into it. Like some of the Dragon Con folks were just recommended to come do this. Like they weren't necessarily fans, so they're gonna have that pressure. So we'll see what they have going forward. But them being the respective Inner Geekdom player, at least top Inner Geekdom player on the respective faction, I think it's gonna be. I'm looking forward to what they got going on, 100%.
Yes.
But Friday.
Yeah, let's get to this Friday because Friday was insane.
Got two matches on Friday.
Yeah, and both were nail biters, honestly. You had let's start off with the first one, the non-pay-per-view, and we'll save the pay-per-view for last. And if there's anybody watching who is not a patron, you can go ahead and check out.
Fuck off.
No, wait, no. Don't listen to him.
No, don't do that. No.
Don't listen to Jonah Hill's lookalike down there.
Wait a minute. Why'd you say that? Now he's gonna fuck off. Like you can't. Wait, no, Jeff. Don't. I see you looking down. Don't look down. No, Jeff. No,
his audio is still there.
Still audio. No, Jeff.
Oh, thank you for saying I look like someone who's been nominated for multiple Academy Awards.
I know.
No, it was a compliment, and he meant that as a compliment, right, Matt?
Actually, yeah, because Jonah Hill's one of my favorite actors.
Yeah, don't worry, I won't get far on foot. Let's go.
Jesus. What's going on? Jeff. So, in regards to Mancuso and McKee. What were your thoughts on the match going into it? Because obviously Miroslav has had this big presence because of the trade that Shannon made for her. So what were your thoughts on competitive?
So I was excited to see how she was going to go. I wanted to see that damn, so nervous. I wanted to see how she was going to go because we knew that she was good, but we knew she didn't get as far as maybe she wanted to. We saw that she actually kind of like she picked up where Collins might have made a misstep or two as part of deception. So it was very interesting to see kind of what happens now that she's back. Mancuso, as we know, he was really strong in his debut, and his next match wasn't as good, but he still wasn't bad. So I was curious. Yeah, I was very curious. In all honesty, I was hoping for a Mancuso win. I figured that McKee might pull it, but I was hoping for him to win specifically because of the amount of buildup on this rookie that only had a couple of matches, and all of that was because of tournaments. It wasn't like a couple of matches throughout the years. They were all like one after another, so people got them like real quick. And her closeness to the winning faction and the singles champion meant like all eyes on this. We had to see what happened, and I wanted to see a stumble, not just because obviously I'm not rooting for people to fail,
no,
but I wanted to see a stumble over the amount of hype that people give to people all the time. I wanted, with the amount of drama with the draft and free agency and corruption being like, we want all our girls and all this stuff. I wanted to see what would happen if things that corruption like really put their effort behind don't go their way.
You wanted to see chaos. You wanted to see the chaos.
I wanted to see what would happen because, like, in my head, part of me is rooting for like the Laura Kelly thing. Part of me is like, I want to see her lose because I want to see something happen where then Winston offers to trade her back, and then Shannon goes, "No, I don't take losers." Like, I want to see that sort of thing happen because I in my head, I want to see something where Shannon starts dropping people, even though they're more successful, the same way she dropped Bonnie. I want to see exactly that. I want to see chaos. I want to see people who supposedly have a plan throw that plan out the window. So.
Yeah, it did look like for a while Vinny was going to pull this out. I agree with you.
Yeah.
So last week I called McKee winning. I said it would be a close match because I want that free dinner. But
free dinner. Can you explain that to me real quick? I don't think I know what you mean.
Chris and I are gonna keep calling the matches, and whoever loses predict the matches, and whoever loses has to buy the winner dinner.
Oh man! And if you guys are still far away, then like you're gonna like Grubhub and like deliver it to his address.
Because we'll have what cons every so often.
And the best part about this, well, two things. A, the stain on the other side of that notebook was from the dinner he just had, and the other thing was I don't remember agreeing to the dinner in the first place. I took his word for it because I like to think Matt doesn't lie to me. So now there's stakes in this, and I'm competitive. So now I feel like I have to.
Now, hold on. Is it stakes because like there's a consequence, or stakes because of dinner?
No, I think it's no.
I feel.
I get what you're saying. No. I think we said. I think what we discussed because Chris, this is while you were in town. It might have been while we were drunk. I can't remember. We were drunk a lot that weekend.
Damn, there was a better way I could have asked that. I should have said, "Oh, are those steaks medium rare or some shit like that?"
But no.
Still funny nonetheless.
No. I know we talked about it while you were here, and I think we said next time, like, because we're like, all right, after the season's over, whoever's in whoever's area, we're gonna go get dinner.
After Spectacular.
After Spectacular, yes.
But the match, at least me going into it. So I mean, I didn't view it too far off from you guys. Yeah. Of course, I like good story, and I even though it would be at the expense of my favorite faction. I want to see the story pan out the way it does, or I did want to see the story pan out the way it did because I want corruption to be successful. Of course I did. Seeing Laura do the whole I want to go back to corruption, having corruption on her card when the match aired, like that's awesome. Like that's what I really did. Yeah. And I mean, especially with how they're going, they're slowly pushing out Winston Marshall. But that's a whole different conversation for a different day. If I'm not mistaken, was that cutscene before the Star Wars match?
Yes.
Yeah, because the very first cutscene of the week was Guy waking up, and then the second cutscene was Chandru and Laura. Still very confused about the Chandru thing, considering like literally like running up to that match,
he was calling like Winston the real manager.
He was like doing Twitter threads about how incredible Winston is.
And then I personally don't like what they're doing with that storyline because it seems like Chandru's coming across as the older brother who's getting jealous because the younger siblings are getting attention, and that's what it's coming off as to me. Because he even said in his post game, he's like, "You're giving the attention of the new toys, Vinny and Lauren. What about me?" It's like, are you an older sibling and with a newborn child?
Having said that, Winston did sell that scene. Like Winston did a good job with that scene. But I mean, like then everyone there's that whole like speculation. Oh, does Winston have a job or something or blah 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 blah.
And I like Winston a lot in this Schmoedown. I don't want to see him go. But if that is the case for real life reasons, why he has other things to do, then okay, he has
with better paychecks,
right?
He said that was a temp job, so I just think they played it. They're just playing into it because he's back on SEN now. He's back on doing game time.
But the stuff with Chandru and Laura Kelly, just talk about that for a second before we talk about Key and Mancuso. The whole storyline just feels thrown together. The Laura thing makes sense to me, but it gives off the same energy as Roka turning on Dan.
What's up, Shug?
What's up, Shug?
We're gonna have you on here soon. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, look at you, brother. But I just felt like this is thrown together. It gives me the same energy as Roka turning on Dan. It just feels like it had to happen because of circumstance or for the sake of making a story. Laura makes sense. I buy that because Shannon was like, I want to keep my girls. If you take my girls, I'm gonna mess you up. And Winston's like, all right, I'm taking Laura. And Laura won for good reason. So statistically, you should take Laura. But Chandru being thrown into the mix felt so weird. And it gave me a bad taste. It left a bad taste in my mouth after that Inner Geekdom match. Love seeing Mara win, especially the way she did, breaking records and shit. But Chandru, out here, I'm Thanks, Suge.
Thank you, Suge.
You're the best, mother. But I don't rock with Changer's character's turn, and now he's leading the charge against Winston. It's like, let's go recruit other people. It's like, who the hell are you gonna recruit within your own faction? And if so, if you get a whole
some people are saying Ace because of what happened at the draft, which
could make sense. I mean, that makes a lot of sense that way. But I mean, like, they're portraying this thing of like so much of Swag doesn't like him all of a sudden, and it's like, what does that mean? Why? Like, that he was busy working with Swag, they don't like him. I'm confused.
Right.
Obviously it's so early. We cannot just like sit here and
judge it right away.
Judge it negatively unless we see more of like what is the grander scheme. Like, we should just sit back. We should watch it. For now, we have questions, we have concerns, but we are committed to finish it out. So
like
either way, we're gonna bitch and Kimon. We're still gonna fucking watch.
Oh yeah, like I was talking about it earlier with the coworker of mine about something completely different. But I'm like, yo, for as much as I bitch, I moan, I complain, and I'll be texting Matt like, oh, this is still thrown together. Guess what I'm doing? I'm rewatching the thing for the sake of the show. Like, I'm out here like, ooh, Schmoedown. Like, I'm gonna watch this thing. Like I watch stupid stuff on wrestling TV every single week. I mean, I'm not gonna watch the show. Like, oh my god. And that's the same vibe I get from this. Like, a story's thrown together. Let me see the outcome of where it goes, and then once it's over, I'll bitch, whine, and complain about it. But until then, the only thing I can see this going is, or the only direction is Winston getting ousted. But I don't know. I think
it could force Winston into trading one of them away.
Yeah, I mean, there is one there. I mean, there's one thing that I will always bitch, moan, and complain about because it's worth it, and that is just whatever thing Roka's doing on his promos lately.
Okay, yeah,
but that's a totally separate thing.
Hold on, I did have issues with what felt like two pointless promos and the Roka and Dagnino talking shit, and the other one is so pointless. I kind of like tossed
dungeon one.
It was the dungeon one. I'm like, yo, like, why? Like, why?
If we're gonna throw the P word around, I thought the dungeon one was just like, okay, like it just showcases dynamics between Kaiser and Bateman and Merle, but it just felt weird.
I'm like, are you trying to show that Kaiser's in over his head because clearly he didn't look like it?
No. All it showed was this thing where it's like sometimes in prep. I mean, at least that's how I saw it. It's because they don't have the same relationship with him as a manager as like Smets does. I guess they don't have that same symbiotic relationship.
Right.
So for him, he's trying to he wants to just communicate. The thing is, he's communicating with someone who has done this so many times. It's hard to be like, because Dan has never actually been managed in any way. No. He's been able to do all that all his own. Like his only times that he actually had
last week.
Yeah. The only times that he actually was like above that he actually had a manager wasn't really that much actual managing going on. Even when it was Roka stepping in. Like none of that stuff. It was pretty much all Dan. So I mean, to that respect, there's not a whole lot you can do to prep Dan to manage in that respect. Once Dan decides to finally enter IG, Kaiser will be very good for him. And I think Kaiser will be really good in trying to oversee him and Ben together, because it's another thing of two big trivia players and making sure that they work well together.
Yes.
But in this case, I think I just read it as Kaiser, there's nothing Kaiser can do. And then Ben even knows this, because Ben's like, look, you don't need to do anything for him this time. You just got to show up and be there. Like it's the same sort of thing as like what Laura did, which was like, just be there, but don't stand in my way. That's sort of what Dan was doing. Only Dan is like,
being nice.
Dan's been there so many times, and he's been able to do it without a manager. That's all. It's showing like, I don't need a manager when I'm doing this right now. Just stay in my corner and let me do my thing.
And Kaiser explicitly said that. He explicitly said, you don't need me, but I still want to have this dialogue. And
it's just the idea of trying to keep communication. It's just trying to keep the line of communication open, which is good. But we all know Dan isn't really someone that needs to be managed for a lot of those things. Right. And we saw that happen. We saw that he, like, when he has these number one contender matches, You don't need to worry about him.
By the way, he's never lost the number one contender.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean.
Never.
Like, when he has a number one contender match, never have to. I mean, then again, it could be a little different for his next match because he's also never lost as the challenger for the belt.
Yeah.
But this is different because of just everything going on with Collins. And Collins is the one that he lost from. So there could be an air of he might possibly just need help to make sure that he stays the course, that he's laser focused.
You mean doesn't pull a Snyder?
Hold it. Cool it, Matthew.
I'm just saying Snyder gets in his head.
We're getting ahead of ourselves. We'll
get to that. A lot of people get in their head. So a lot of people get in their head. And I mean, we did also see this week people that had stuff happen that could have gotten them in their head, like Jesse with Superman, or it could have even been Amaru could have gotten in his head with Dark Knight and Lucius Fox. That's funny actually. Now that I think about it, that he got two questions wrong.
That's what I said
regarding Morgan Freeman, and both of them were the result of someone named Fox too. Because he said Angelina Jolie, whose character's name was Fox, and then he got the Morgan Freeman question wrong for Morgan Freeman playing a character named Fox.
Illuminati. They're in the writer's room, damn it. But the one thing I will say, about the whole Dan thing, and Matt, we said this on the show last week, Dan don't need no damn manager. Right. You don't. Dan could be solely independent. Like Kaiser's is there to do the promo for him. But even then, Dan's involved to the player now where Dan could cut his own promos. Yeah. So like maybe like season 4 or 5, Dan, he couldn't that
winter is coming bullshit. I didn't know what that meant until they like actually showed look at these screen caps of them. They're doing promos out in the snow. I'm like, oh
yeah, it's like winter is coming because he's legitimately outside when we had all that snow a couple weeks ago out here. But the thing is, like these cutscenes are they're all right to me.
They're
like,
early.
I dig. Yeah, it's early and we're still finding our footing. And what I said, it's Kaiser trying to create a dialogue with Sans Mora, his 2 top singles players. We need to also keep that in mind as well. Maybe that's another storyline element from it. Who knows? But McKee Mancuso.
Let's finish that out because we got halfway through that already.
Yeah, like McKee Mancuso, I was going into this as the same POV as you guys. Marisol had a lot of talk about pressure because Shannon traded away her first 2 picks for her, and that's not only that off of you got 4 performances. You lost 2 of them last year, and that's all we got from you. You went 2-2 in teams and singles combined. So what are we're gonna prove to us now? At the same time, she lost to Oyama. Oyama went perfect, so let's keep that in mind as well. But Mancuso also had one hell of a season last year too, proving a lot of people wrong, myself included. Like what you said, Matt, he went toe-to-toe with Ethan for a while in that tournament match. I mean, it's still Ethan Owen, but still Mancuso's no slouch. So McKee beat him by 5 in this one. And I don't know about you guys, but it's the second Vinny burned through all of his repeats before the 5-pointer. I'm like, it's game. I think
that's exactly what I was thinking.
In the third round or 5th round in championship matches, if you don't have a repeat for your 5th round question, at least, or your 5-point question, at least one, I think you're screwed unless you know off the top of your head, a la Tank Girl, Liz Shannon Miller. Burn through his repeats, I'm like, it's game over.
It was, it was definitely an interesting match. I played along with it. I got almost all the questions there right. They took notes on that. I think if I was playing as Marisol, I got every single question right. If I was Mancuso, one of his questions, I took the multiple choice. I didn't get the 2-pointer right. His 2-pointer was difficult because I don't know Action Jackson.
I got Action Jackson. That was just off of a pure guess.
That's a subjective thing, but also when thinking about it, I don't know. That's not something that's in my wheelhouse. But also when the answer happens to be Carl Weathers as the lead actor in a film, Carl Weathers is not someone that you would traditionally pull as the lead actor in something based on his place in in like cinema for a lot of people.
So I guess this is the difference between black and whatnot.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
That's exactly what it is, man.
I was just about to say, for
It
me,
is exactly
when
because it's black.
when I hear an 80s film with a black lead, the only one of the most prominent black actors in the 80s, especially if it's a film that I don't know, is Carl Weathers.
Eddie Murphy. Oh, okay. Well, that too.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing. It's to me, when I think of everything for Carl Weathers, it's specifically lead actor that I don't think of him.
I took lead out of it because when it comes to black cinema, characters that would traditionally be supporting characters are going to be the lead most likely. So that's how I went about thinking.
That's an interesting rule of thumb.
Because
go ahead, Matt.
Especially because it's an 80s film. I hear 80s action, black cinema, so I know it's a black actor. And so I'm like, Eddie Murphy didn't really do it outside of Beverly Hills Cop, didn't really do action. So who else in the 80s?
48 Hours.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm one of the few people who don't like those movies, so I try to forget them.
First one's fine. I haven't watched the second one, but also the second one's not even the second one's not even like the movie that they made. That movie has like half of it missing.
Yes, but so I'm like I know it's not Eddie Murphy, so black actor, 80s, probably someone you want to, and again, it's a black actor, so he's probably a supporting actor in a lot of other things, but not the lead in a lot. I immediately went to Carl Weathers based off of black, 80s, and action. Those were the three things.
It's an educated guess that worked in your favor.
And I mean, and that's why
it didn't work in his favor.
What's up, Joe?
Go on, Joe. But the thing is, with black cinema even being a category, I was surprised to see black cinema in regular Schmoedown play. I missed the announcement in this. Leo Logan in the chat. Vinny's 5-pointer was also a choice. Fair Game is such a forgotten movie in the resumes of Naomi Watts, Sean Penn, and Doug Liman.
So I wanted to bring that up actually. So I got that right away because I knew Valerie Plame. I knew the name, and I just remember Fair Game. I know that it's. I know all the people that are involved in that. I still have never seen the movie. But one thing that definitely helped was the recent director's cut that had been released through Netflix of the film. Doug Liman got to recut it a bit, and he released it on Netflix. And that was like within the last year or so. And there was a bit of a boost to that movie recently for its 10th anniversary director's cut. So that, just like we were talking earlier about Snowpiercer, it reared its head because with Parasite, it was like making its rounds again. Same thing here. It was 10 years and Doug Liman got to redo that one. It's also something where if you pay attention to contemporary politics, Fair Game had come up due to obviously not discussing necessarily politics here, but one of the people that happened to have been pardoned in the last 4 years was Scooter Libby, and Scooter Libby was the guy who helped leak the information that ended up becoming the basis of Fair Game. So Scooter Libby, if you had paid attention to certain politics, you heard that he got pardoned, and then suddenly Fair Game happened to be popping up because of that as well. So and that's another thing about being subjective. It's very weird, specific information that got me to Fair Game. But on top of that as well, that is definitely a more difficult one because it is forgotten. Leo's right. It's forgotten. It didn't make a lot of money. It got good reviews, but it didn't get the kind of ones that get it awards noticed. And on top of that, it's in the spy genre, but it is not a traditional spy film that people would probably think of. Right. So it is more of the casual, the casual espionage type thing of the real world. As opposed to this, it's like Official Secrets, the Gavin Hood film with Keira Knightley. That's technically a spy film in the same vein. Yeah. So it's a good 5-pointer. Yes. That's what I'm saying.
But I will say this, and I know I'm going to get some pushback from Chris on this. I need to see more out of Marisol because that match, I don't think she was based off of this one match. I didn't see enough. I didn't see enough for me to say she was worth a first and a second. I didn't see enough from her because
agreed.
I know Chris is like, oh, Oyama had to go perfect. Go back and look at that match. He was up 5 going into the third round. He only had to answer his 2-point question. So that's still
she has a load of potential.
Yes,
she has the potential, and she's continuing to grow, but she's not there yet.
And somebody can't say she's like her second match. I'm like, her second match from last year is almost identical to this. Only difference is she came out with the W this time.
The big thing, the big focus, I mentioned it earlier, is her relationship with Adam as a teammate. It had, and the fact that they did really well in their first team match, and the fact that they barely lost in their second one. That's
why
with the Barbara Babcock question, which is a 5-pointer of a 5-pointer.
Which they said would not be a question this year.
Yeah. So, but having said that, though, I mean, it is a question. Someone could have gotten it right. If you're a Barbara Babcock stan, they're out there. I don't know who they are, but they are. But still, it's because of those performances, I believe, and the fact that the current singles champion, who was the singles player of the year that everyone went fucking nuts for, that I think really rose her
status,
her status, her like what people thought of her. And I think that it was game stonks, people artificially inflating the stocks. I think people his inclusion in her stats has artificially inflated her stock a bit.
And Corey, I'm not going to disagree with you there, but she needs to improve to get them to that A-team status. Because right now, I if she plays like she did her past 2 singles matches, I don't think that gets you near the A-team status you need to be.
Now, okay, let me respond to Matt's claim. I'm going to push back on him. How fucking no. So no, Marisol wasn't perfect in this match. She wasn't. And I'll be the first. As much as I'm gonna stand a correction.
You don't have to say you're the first to admit it. The stats showed she wasn't perfect. Here's the deal, though. She was.
She didn't live up to the potential that, at least not yet, that those 2 picks would have been equal towards. At least if we're weighing the skills behind it. And it was awfully familiar with what we got of her last season. Totally. I disagree with what Corey said. I still think if you're putting out a team for corruption, it should be Mike and Chance. In a perfect world, you're sending out Mike, you're sending out Chance and Collins. That's what you're doing.
Well, I can say, talking to Corey, he meant next year, because he did a stereo the other day, and I was listening, and he's like, I think Shannon's trying to develop them this year to be the A-team next year.
If that's the case, then awesome.
There's only so long that she can prioritize Mike and Chance together. There's only so long that she could be she's going to have way too many A players, and she's going to have to end up sacrificing someone, and she can't just do some crazy deal again next time. Look, there's some negativity in this conversation about Marisol. She won with 22 points.
She won. She won by a good margin, and she shows that she continues to have promise and potential to grow. She did very well. It's just the problem with it is literally just the amount of hype that went into her, so much focus leading all the way up to here through the draft and the free agency and the kind of hype that people have, and that has to do with the whole idea of expectations. Only the difference is, as opposed to hyping up a movie or a show that doesn't pan out, this is someone with sports who they're supposed to perform to a certain degree based on stats, etc. It did not feel like a deal that was made to put her in her own pedestal outside of free agency in the draft. It's its own thing that feels like it was a missed opportunity to do a little better. Right.
But she will do better in the future. I feel like she's going to do better. She's only going to continue to improve. And with people like Adam, and then she has Chance, and she has Mike, and she has all these other people in her corner, she's going to continue to improve, and she's going to go far. It's just a matter of this specific match was not the match that you would anticipate or hope to see from someone who had that whole big roller coaster of placement leading up to it.
No, that's exactly what it boils down to. And the The point of reforming Deception was also had to have been a big factor into that as well.
That's what Collins wanted.
Exactly, and you had gone. You talked about it not too long ago, like that her relationship with Collins is like that's low key. Those two people are the future of the league. Like with folks like Mike who've been in it for a long time, and I don't see Mike like being in the Schmoedown for not too long after this season. And I saw a bit of I think it was Late Night with Gucci.
Yeah, he was on Late Night with Gucci on Friday. Yeah,
I saw him. I saw a bit of it, and he had even talked about like, "Yo, if Marisol and Deception won the tag belts, and Collins still had the singles belt, like Chance bested him in the Inner Geekdom tournament. That's a you got to keep the tag team together, and they obviously had the singles champ. So what do you do now?" And that would have been a whole.
He'd probably retire, and he'd probably take the Rachel Cushing position for Corruption.
And that's all possibility. Do you risk Mike going into the draft, or what does that even tell? We will never know.
There's that whole big question mark when it comes to Mike, because Mike has been doing that whole crazy thing of I will not play for someone if it's not Shannon. But I mean, then again, you have Laura who's insisting like she wants to only be with Corruption. She's still playing for Swag.
But Laura didn't say like there's a difference in situation.
That's true,
because Laura isn't dating the manager. Laura is
not living with the manager.
Yeah, she's not living with the manager. It becomes this whole different situation to where Laura's also brand new in the league and she's got a lot to prove. Mike's proved a lot, and I'm not the only person to say this. I've talked to other people. He's been on a slow but steady decline the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean it's funny to say the guy who in the last couple of years, and in those couple of years, he won he won a couple different belts a few different times, but like half that time it was because his teammate helped him, or because the person he was up against stumbled. Yeah. So like that's how a lot of these sort of happen. I think he's still obviously great. Yeah. It's just like he has to continue to study, and there's so much more. And then there are other people that like they're able to just absorb information maybe differently, better. They're gonna come from that.
Yeah, and I mean Marisol, she picked up a W for Corruption. It's a loss on Thursday. Like Corruption couldn't start the season. They can't start the season.
Swag started 0-3. Let's put that.
No, and Corruption started at the bottom last year. So I mean, like anything's possible in the Schmoedown, especially with the point variations this year. But
1-3, not 1-3.
With the pressure that was already on McKee, and yeah, like she got them picks traded for her. But like the long-term potential, I believe, Jeff, you had mentioned this. Like the sky's the limit for her. Like she's nowhere near her peak. Like, and there's still so much.
She can only get better. She's a sophomore.
She's only had a couple of matches, and she's going to continue to get even better.
She's 3-2. She's 3-2. I'm not taking that away from her. I'm just saying. Yeah, I need to see a little bit more to feel like, you know what, that was a smart trade. I don't know if it was a smart trade just yet.
We won't know until the season ends, frankly. And we won't know until the end of the season.
It's too early. And we know
Chris,
we know
realistically we could know at the halfway point. We could know at the halfway point because we never know when the tournaments are officially going to start. We never know when teams is going to come into play. But let's say she loses her next match, and then we don't get to see her until maybe let's say October is when the singles tournament is. And what if she loses her match
whenever
then?
Marisol's seasons, whenever her season ends, then we can reassess that trade. Yeah. But until then, it's like anything's possible. She won her first match. Good for you, Marisol.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Like at the end of the day, she still won. Yeah. She still won. She won by a healthy margin. She did very well. It's always good. And she still has only had a couple of matches overall. And she still got over 20 points in this match. She still won by a healthy margin. And I think that, you know, it wasn't an A+, but it wasn't like a B- either.
I'll say four wins total for the season, Corey, between teams and singles. 4 wins total.
I think a smart trade. I mean, yeah.
I think 4 wins. That's two in each. Let's say you get 6 matches, you go 2-1 in each. That's I think fair. I think that's fair.
No, and I mean, Marisol would have been picked up in the first round or early second, regardless. At least I like to think. even if corruption didn't trade for her, or if the Den didn't pick her up in the offseason. But just to talk about Vinny for a second, Vinny missed his 2, 3, and his 5.
He choked that way.
It's not a good. I mean,
it's not a good look.
A great play, but it's not a good look to start your season. And Swag after like the whole Laura thing, like although she won her match, like if we're playing in the storylines, like that's not great. And then Shanju lost his belt, and then Vinny's out here missing his 2, 3, and 5 point questions. So like Swag's not looking too hot outside of Star Wars at the moment, but we'll see with they have.
When's the last time that happened? When's the last time that happened? Was that Wit's?
So Logan, you still in the chat, brother? Leo Logan would know.
Was that Wit's team or whatever? Or when they whenever they were playing and they were up and then they bombed all 3 of their round.
I think that was Wit's team last year.
It was Wit's team last year.
In the tournament?
No, early on in the season.
Yeah, it was
before we started going digital. I thought. That's when his team match.
Oh,
when had his team match.
No, Leo, we want to hear this stat. Can you clarify the stat that I'm bringing up right now?
But weren't Wit
Misfits? Yep, Misfits versus Wit Zipper.
That's what I thought. That was
earlier in the year.
Yeah.
That was Video Drew's first match as a team. So yeah,
that's Jesus. No, like missing 2, 3s, and 5s, like at this, like we never see it. Like the fact that we had to like go into the deep recesses of our brain or ask Leo Logan, because my man knows everything, my best friend Leo Logan. But damn, like that's not a good look on Mancuso's part. Granted, he's still a great player, but like starting your season off like this isn't the best. We'll see him again in singles and probably in teams. He'll probably be a part of a team going forward. But McKee, it was a great show for McKee, and the fact that
that's what
we're saying that she had a great showing
in this tournament.
Okay.
Yeah, it was in the tournament because I remember it being on digital.
Yeah, I remember I'm like, yo, because Wit. Yeah, okay. Either way.
Sorry, I was thinking about Looney Bin. That's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, word. But McKee, like the fact that she had a great match or a really good match, and that wasn't even her pinnacle yet, says a lot about her. And then I'll end my statements on that before we talk the main events of Friday, the true main event.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good. Let's do it. Schmoedown versus happened that evening. I wasn't prepared. It didn't feel like
before we talk about the event, we have to go to the cutscenes. The cutscenes for that event. Sure.
Before my thoughts had nothing to do with the match.
Okay.
That night, it didn't feel like a pay-per-view to me. I don't know about you guys, but like that night, maybe because of what I was doing, and like I had to watch the Star Wars and Mancuso McKee right beforehand. But I went into Versus, I'm like, it didn't give me the same Throwdown vibe or soon to be Battlefield. We'll see how that goes.
Well, it's because there was only one match too. Normally, like a lot of these pay-per-views have an undercard and then a main event, and this was just a single thing.
Get straight to the main event. Like it still had it was that hype. It still had the pay-per-view hype, but once I actually started watching it, the cutscenes aside, because the cutscenes I definitely lost my damn mind. But the match itself, like don't get me wrong, the match was great. But it didn't. I wasn't like once it ended. I'm like, that's it. Like that was, and I hope I don't get that same vibe. Is Battlefield 2 matches or is it just Throwdowns?
So Battlefield and Throwdown are both 2 matches.
Yeah, the way
Battlefield is a double main event. Battlefield is a double main event,
which means nothing because all that means is that they just if it was a double main event, then they wouldn't advertise the first main event in smaller fonts than the second main event, which they're doing, as they are doing with Throwdown. It is a double main event in the way where they're just like, and any other thing, this would be the main event. So we're going to call it that because the actual Throwdown definitely has 2 quote unquote main event type matches as well. It's just a new label. It's a new label in order to try to like prop up that things are different when they're not. Yeah.
And maybe that was just again. I just want to get that off my chest before we start talking.
They're big matches. They're all big matches. They're all exciting. Yeah, that's what's important. It did not feel
match feel.
It had a big match feel, but it was by itself, so it was interesting. I mean, I get it. This whole like big hype of like, how is Snyder arguably the teams player, the greatest teams player of all time, arguably, and Dan, arguably the greatest player of all time, not once ever been in the ring together in any way, shape, or form. So it makes sense that sort of big hype can be its own event. I think it's when it comes to the cutscene, first one, very funny, very enjoyable.
That was
very
the best
silly.
acting Christian's done in
So
a while.
silly. Oh
Like,
man!
I
Yeah, you're talking about that one. I'm thinking of the other cutscene.
You're thinking of the second one, but no. That first cutscene with the Grace announcement, I was like, that is the best acting Christian has done in a while.
Yeah, I'm still very. I mean, as we mentioned earlier, very questionable about where this is going.
Yes,
but other than that, yeah, he was good. He was good in it, and Grace was Grace, which is like that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. It's just like she's definitely got a handle on that character. Like, what can you say?
Grace is so good at like doing the whole character work stuff. When
you almost think she's a professional actress,
right? You think so, but within the context of the Schmoedown, like I going back to the Lions Den all that time ago, it's like damn, like I missed Grace in the Schmoedown, like I really did, like and when she put with Kate last year, and Matt heard me bitch about it all the time. It's like I'm like I didn't rock with this, and the digital format definitely did not help either.
No,
so I was just torn on it when she got fired. I'm like, okay, sure, but bringing her back as Christian's boss, if we're gonna use that word, then great. I like the idea of Christian Harloff answering to somebody, and that somebody being the person he was so cool with letting Kate let go at Spectacular. Like I like that a lot.
I have I mean, I've heard stuff about like the idea of how for 30 years in wrestling, like I've heard some people that were in like watch-alongs with me on Friday night mention like, you know, in 30 years of wrestling, the heel commissioner has never been a good storyline. They've done it for 30 years and it's never worked out well, blah, blah, blah. But another thing that struck me is that Grace is great with character.
Yes.
Her track record of every time she's managed and overseen is not great. In fact, it's pretty bad. And the idea that then she gets fired off a thing, and the next time we see her is she went from being part of like a group of people managing like a Lion's Den thing, and now she's co-managing, like advising, but like, you know, obviously trying to be like the bigger, like badder character or whatever for that. And then she's out of that. And now she's somehow weaseled her way into overseeing everything. Grace's character has failed upwards so hard in the show.
Yeah.
And I don't know what angle they're trying to go with it. I'm curious to see, like I'm always curious to see everything that they're trying to do. I just find it funny that it's like, let's bring Grace back and put her in a bigger position, and then she loses and she leaves, and it's like, all right, let's bring Grace back, put her in a bigger more prominent position, and then she loses and she leaves. It's like, now let's put her in charge of everything.
I would say she went from being promoted because she originally she was post match. Then she was co-manager with Ken. Then she got a slight demotion to advisor, not even full manager. And now she's just failed all the way.
I mean,
it's a roller coaster.
And maybe I just have to go to the Grace Hancock school of doing things, because she obviously don't have to be good at what you do as long as you're apparently just there
doing it.
Right. Like you're going to work your way up. And I totally get by Christian, because I'll be frank. This is Christian overseeing Grace, overseeing Christian. And it's gonna get weird, especially for the folks who watch pro wrestling or are familiar with it, trying to work angles, because that's all Christian.
It's also super distracting, the idea. It's like, yeah, Grace is going to be overseeing Christian, which would be very interesting. And then, you know, in the real world, it's Christian overseeing Grace, how she oversees Christian.
Right.
And I'm just...
The one good thing I will say about Christian's acting, right? You said it, Matt. I mean, it was cool. The best thing he did in that opening, though, was when we had the technical difficulties with the promo, and he pretended that Grace called him talking
Yes.
about him messing up. I'm like, that's a great spin. Like already, we're already acknowledging it. And I know he must have been like on the whim, like, yes, Grace.
That was very funny though to
Yes.
see, like when they were like,
Yes,
"Oh,
Grace.
okay," and then they put like the full promo, and I'm like, I saw part of this just a minute ago.
Yeah. I will say, I did enjoy him trying to hold himself back from cursing. That was what really sold the promo for me to begin with. Like, how the hell? I was like, all right.
I like that they got the peeps from Skybound to be part of that too. Like,
like Robert Kirkman. I saw that. I was like,
officially in the Schmoedown canon now.
right.
Phil Logan out there, like on the fandom, typed in Robert Kirkman's name somewhere else aside from the Skybound stuff, and that was dope. But I loved the cutscene. Like, I got a bigger reaction out of that than I did watching Guy the first time.
Yes.
I asked Matt, I'm like, should I record my reactions to watching these matches? And he's like, yeah, sure, why not? And I did, and I like got out of my chair. I'm like, let's go! Grace is back! Like, I was tripping. And
he's like,
it was
which ones
awesome.
should I record? And I'm like, just the ones from the second match, realistically. Just the ones from the second match.
I recorded everything after Star Wars because I forgot to do the Star Wars. But no, that Grace thing was awesome. Like, it was a lot of fun to do. Like, I mean, logistically, it doesn't make a sense because, like, wait, Christian, but we're not dumb. Like,
that's reading into real world versus the
right. Like, if we're breaking kayfabe, then
why don't we talk about the other cutscene, because then it can like end off.
Guys got his mind wiped. I was losing my shit.
I thought that was the funniest, silliest bullshit. It's just like
he thinks they're about to play Team Trek, so yeah, he's basically got his mind wiped.
I like to think that it's the theory that it's been a clone after that day. After Team Trek, it was another guy running around.
To me, it makes sense that the Schmoedown put his brain in the scrambler. That's what it seems like.
That's totally what it is. And they just he woke up in his own bed in a suit, and his hair did, and drinking that apple juice.
One thing that we do remember from when he was doing his filming by himself, when he was filming all that stuff for Spectacular, he filmed Skybound, the office of Skybound, the outside of it. You could see it on the building. Right. And now we have like the owners of Skybound in that same thing. And I believe that it's all tying into a Skybound related, something. And he mentioned Schmoedown. It's all somehow connected. I guess now we'll have to figure out. Yeah, so I believe it's just a brainwash thing. Why? How? I don't care. It's fucking silly and funny, and it gave us a chance for Ben to say, "Why aren't you wearing a mask?" And Guy says, "Why do people keep asking me that?"
That was the best line of the whole.
As soon as I heard, I know how to beat Team Trek. I was like, "Oh my god!"
Cameron Diaz on the wheel for Mance. Like, it was a great cutscene, and they're totally doing the brainwash.
And it threw me off because if you pay attention to that first scene, it's him. It's the action guys versus Team Trek. It's that match on screen in that first scene when he's waking up. Yep,
I noticed that. Yeah, which I thought was kind of funny, and it's also funny to be like Ben. It's interesting that it has Ben trying to his character turn, going back to the heel persona with the laugh and the sunglasses that he used to have.
Did you just chug that?
Yeah, I was like
my mouth was dry, dude.
What was it?
We've been talking for water. We've been talking for like 2 hours. I was just like, yeah, I need it.
Yeah, I realize that now. But it's interesting that we have both Ben. I love you too. Ben, you just save it for later. Ben reverting to the kind of heel that he used to be.
Yes.
And Guy literally reverting to the heel he used to be. Because, I mean, last year he was all over the place. He started going from dastardly to debonair, and then from debonair to
crazy man,
out of his fucking mind, and then I don't know. whatever this is. So I am interested and curious. I know that's probably just a coincidence, the idea that Ben is also reverting back to his heel ways. That would be interesting if something happened that involved him also for storyline work. I don't know what that would mean, especially because Schmoedown backstage is technically canon to storyline. So I don't think they can do that with Ben. Remember when backstage was supposed to be like you get to see a peek behind the curtain, you get to hear about all that stuff,
and now
then
it's
it became a play. Now it's a canon storyline. So, but anyways, it was weird. It was crazy. I'm interested to see what they do next because it definitely wasn't something to be expected. And I like things that are weird. I like things that are just like totally out of left field. It's like what? Like if they do something and I'm just so like at a loss for words, despite all the words I just said out loud. It makes me excited to see what's next.
I totally am with the whole brainwash thing. I want to say, and after watching WandaVision for 2 months, I'm like everything I speculate is just wrong. So I want to try and stop doing that. I want to say this leads to Jericho being dropped from the dungeon and then guy getting picked up.
That's what a lot of people are saying. I kind of agree with that.
I want to see it that way. I don't know if it'll go that way because Jericho's still Chris Jericho, and he just wrestled on pay-per-view last night. So we also have to keep that in mind.
He sure is a famous guy that doesn't use his platform to advertise for the Schmoedown, and also has a 0-2 record. So it's very good to keep him on.
Exactly, and drafted in the 5th round. Let's not forget.
Drafted before the Rager.
I know, right? Like that was the he was shouting for a lot of folks, but I think a guy will end up on the dungeon, and we'll see what happens. But that Jericho slot, I have been saying since the whole Jericho debacle after the draft, I'm like, this man ain't gonna play this year. There's no way, Chris. Especially, and I hate to bring pro wrestling into this, but if fans come back to events and they start traveling again, there's no way in hell Chris Jericho plays. So. I'm in the camp where guy should go back to the dungeon for the sake of storyline. I'd love to see that dynamic of maybe Ben reverting back to full-on team action and then how his faction mates respond to that. Because that's not the Ben they signed up to be with, or in the case of draftees, that's not the Ben they thought they were going to get. So we'll see. But I love that cutscene, and the mask line was the best part by far.
Apparently that's never going to happen, unfortunately. So, oh well.
The Master?
That's me.
But
the match.
Well, maybe if you regenerate, then a different master can go in.
Great.
Right.
That was Doctor Who reference for you nerds out there.
Dan Murrell and Jeff Snyder played this little match. These two guys. They haven't really done much in the Schmoedown at all, respectively. But
Florence Pugh.
The question that burned one repeat per competitor. And that's how we started off the damn match.
Well, it was to be fair, that was a brilliant question because you have to remember which actress was which sister,
which was Joe and which was Amy, because 2 of the young actresses were nominated for an Oscar, and because of what people think about it. Yeah, when people think about it, I think it was a super solid one because the whole idea is like they just said nominated for an Oscar, or they just said who plays Amy. They if they had clarified supporting actress, then that it's definitely Florence Pugh.
Yes.
I really like the question. I can't believe that Snyder 2 people at the highest tier, the way that they went both. I mean, like, look, Merle got it, but he also had to burn a repeat. And that was by far, I believe, the longest time frame for a single question in round 1
right.
because of all the repeats.
And it just, I was astonished. I'm like, this is how we're starting this big money match. Jeff Snyder, Dan Murrell, and the one question that holds at the beginning of the match is about Little Women. And I'm like, what the hell is going on right now? And both of these guys burned a repeat. Jeff missed, and then we got that shitty Jeff for the rest of the game. Essentially,
can I be honest, Chris? You know our rule. It feels like if you miss you're out. As soon as he missed it, I'm like, Snyder's out. And then when he missed
the first to miss,
yeah. And then when he missed that next round one question, I'm like, oh yeah, Snyder's out.
And we talked about it last week, Matt, where it's like when he gets flustered, when he gets real shitty with what's going on, like it's like like this is gonna be bad. And like the second he started like being all frustrated, and you can in his body language you can tell I'm like, oh geez, it's spectacular all over again. But this time he doesn't have Andreyko to back him up, like he's by himself, and Roxy can only do so much. So like,
she tried.
And let's not get it twisted. Both guys still played great games.
Here's the deal. He stumbled a little bit, and the problem is when you are at the high tier that you're at, like he is.
If you stumble just a little bit,
it's just like what happened with Molly. Literally, every point matters. Mm-hmm. Every single point. And he and obviously he let it get to him a bit, at least visually speaking. But he knew when he missed a point.
Hi, Jess.
Hello, you.
That's the Ragent's partner.
Okay. Hello. He knew when he missed a point and then he missed another one. These are points you cannot miss. 1 point can be the difference in this sort of situation. So, I mean, and remember, he went on to get all of his round 3. Mm-hmm. He utilized everything. Like he made the educated guess. It all worked out. It all worked out really well for him. It just ended up not being his day because of just a couple of tiny little errors there. And 1 error, 2 error, they can add up.
3 error. You didn't stick on sports.
Wait a minute. I don't want to call that an error now.
1
error, 2 error, red error,
blue error. Yeah. So I don't want to call that. I don't want to call that an error.
Here's why I'm going to say it's an error. Yes, I understand that you were hoping that Dan would land on it, but when you know you can sweep a category and you're behind, that's why I can. Jeff wanted Dan to hit that because everyone knows that's one of Dan's few weaknesses.
Did Jeff know he'd sweep it? He just said he'd know he'd sweep it. Will he though?
That's why I wanted Dan because he's like, I know I'm going to steal the points.
Than he did in mystery. He'd even do bad in mystery. He didn't if he did worse in sports. Then we'd be talking like, oh, you should have spun again.
He didn't do bad in mystery, but at the end of the day, if you know that's a category that you're better at than your opponent. And you're behind, you got to take it.
So like I was actually rooting for Snyder for like a couple different reasons. Matt, I'm sure you know one of the reasons. But outside of that behind the scenes reason, I got to know him a little bit, talked to him a few times, and I got to know him behind the scenes there, and I really like the guy now. And I also just want Dan to stop with all the champion shit and just go into IG already. Just expand, just do the other stuff. I want to see what happens there. I would like to see that. I think it would be a very big change and very interesting thing for him to do, other than go back and forth between where he can be a number 1 contender to a champion and back down again. Let's stop it. We know that he's going to be doing that shit forever. Yeah. No, we get it. The champion's a champion for a reason. But, let's see him do something else. He wanted to do it. He can always say no. He doesn't want to take fucking match.
But Dan likes belts.
Dan does like belts. Dan loves belts. He has to keep his pants up somehow.
And if he goes to Intergeekdom and he wins the belt, then to me, then there's no doubt about it. Like, yes, you said earlier, Jeff, he's arguably the best, and he would be the best if he won an Intergeekdom belt. I'm not even looking for him to win a belt there. I want to see him play and see how he does with some of these things. Yeah. I want to see if he can win enough to get to like a number 1 contender match. Get to a number 1 contender match. Not win one. I want to see if he could do that. Because those questions are different. Those questions are like, hey, Dan, do you know the name of the horse that Frodo rode in the 3rd Middle-earth film that he was in or something? No, I don't fucking know. I don't know that shit. Why would I care about that? So I want to see if he does.
Here's the other thing. You have to keep in mind though, as long as Mara's the champion, there's no reason for him to go anywhere near IG, especially since they're on the same faction.
Well, I think that they when he announced he was going to be doing IG and she was coming back, they made some sort of like thing. It's like the idea that it'll be fun for them to be in the same.
They said it would be fun to be competitive.
Yeah,
and now, but that was when they were going to be on different factions. Now they're on the same faction. You got to remember that was before the first draft.
But here's something that I do know, and that is. And this is something that I definitely know from a couple of behind, just little bits of info. It doesn't matter that Mara is the champion. He still wants to do IG.
I believe that. But I think the reason I say this is because that new perspective we're in where let's say Dan runs through IG and wins the number one contender match. He's just got to sit there and wait for a title match. It's pointless. Yeah. Sure, you get points, but at the end of the day, you're going to be sitting there and waiting for hopefully Mara to lose.
That's true, but I mean, I think that they'll come to it when they come to it, considering this bullshit interfaction thing that Christian is kind of running around. I say bullshit in terms of like it's bullshit to like think about because it's like between waiting or also like trying to do a triple threat or something. It makes my head spin. And I get the idea of like it's gonna be guaranteed points and stuff, but like it's a show too.
It happens. Yeah. It just happens.
It's a show too, and I get it. I just want to see him get in there and just do. I mean, like, look, it's unfortunate. It's not like it's lucky that Molly Damon didn't end up on the same faction as Alex because she was guaranteed a number one contender match there, and if she had won and she was on the Stars, would Christian have then up and changed his mind?
Yeah, it's just one of those things.
So we don't know.
But I think
we don't know because he had promised it.
I think Christian also figured Molly and him wouldn't end up on the same faction just because he was picked up. Molly was projected to go top 3. We saw she ended up going in the second. It's just
so many fucking
weird. That was a weird draft.
Rookies. That was a weird draft. I was at my friend's playing poker and drinking.
Yeah, I remember you telling me you were getting updates,
and I'm like getting messages, and I'm like I'm looking on Twitter because Buck is managing the Schmo Me the Money Twitter, and he's announcing every single pick, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, what?
You're what? Drunk that I'm reading this wrong, or am I?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I'm like, am I drunk or is the draft going sideways right now?
Yeah, the draft. I vaguely remember the draft. That was definitely on night, but
that's like me. I vaguely remember free agency. So,
I mean that too. But the match itself, and Jess's comment, she said about Snyder's
mentality.
If he kept his mental right, yeah. Like that's what it boils down to. Like honestly, if Snyder wasn't so in his own head, like who knows how that second round would have went.
That's why I can never trust Jeff Snyder. I said when I remember this was one of the matches I was asked about when I was on Show Me the Money, and I said I don't care how good Snyder is, he's his worst enemy. He gets in his head. And Roxy has to pull him back. That's why I said Merle will win because I know just one miss to get Jeff in his head and throw him off completely.
And to piggyback off of what you said, it's not even the miss; it's how he missed it. He knew the answer. He wrote down the answer. He showed us. He wrote down the answer, scratched it out. Wrote the other one, scratched it out, and then wrote the incorrect answer again.
Yeah, so the problem was it wasn't just necessarily he knew it. It was a 50-50 shot, and he wrote down the wrong one. And then that's that whole thing of like that was his first guess. And then it goes into that whole like, do you trust your gut? And he ended up saying like, no, I shouldn't trust my gut. And then he went with Saoirse, or then he went with Florence, and then he erased her and went back to Saoirse. He's like, no, I'm going back to my gut. And his gut was wrong. And that's that whole problem of sometimes when you second guess, go back to make sure that you follow your gut instinct. And his gut instinct was incorrect. And I think that's what threw him off there is that whole mentality that so many people try to say, go with your gut. He went with it, and that was what was incorrect. I think that's what messed him up.
Totally, and set the mood for him going forward. And I mean, we all saw in his body language. But in regards to the and I know like Justin Chat brought it up, and Matt, you said not too long ago, not sticking with sports was also a mistake. I get the strategy behind it. I wouldn't call it a mistake per se, but at the same time,
the only reason I call it a mistake is because you're behind. If you know that is one of your strengths and it's your opponent's weakness, I understood the thinking. I just didn't agree with it because you are behind. You need every single point you can get. And if you think you're going to sweep the category, do it. And you can tell Roxy even didn't want him to spin away. She was like, Jeff, she deferred. She should have stuck with her gut instinct and told him, no, Jeff, stick with this.
Mm-hmm. But hey, there could have been there could have been more therapy. More strategy in there as well. Like we don't know what other categories on there he also was just as confident in. Potentially, he probably was like, there are enough in there that I'm confident in that I'm fine spinning away, and hopefully he hits one of the ones that I like, and I also hit one. So I mean, I get what you're saying, Matt. I agree with it. I also am just like just trying to say there could have been more to it than just.
I love how like talking to Taylor. I love how invested Jess is getting in Schmoedown now. This is great. We got to get her on, Chris.
Right. But no, and I totally see your POV. I just wouldn't call it a mistake. Like it was a different choice in strategy, and like he was just banking on Dan to get the category. But Leo Logan also said in the chat, it's a mistake for Roxy and for Snyder to think that Dan is now still bad at sports.
Yes.
That's also a mistake that you make that assumption that Dan didn't study up on sports between now and the last time he got it. So like let's also keep that in mind. But going into that third round, can we talk about those fives for a second? In a week full of questionable questions, depending on who you ask, both of their fives were awfully controversial, for lack of a better word. And Snyder went first. And he had, I forget the exact wording of the question, but it's in regards
these actors voiced character or animals in this live action animals in this movie. What's the movie? Something like that.
In 1998, yeah. And it was Dr. It was like Albert Brooks, Ellen DeGeneres,
and there's one other.
And you know that, and that is that right there, because you're focusing on live action, because otherwise, when you hear Albert Brooks and Ellen DeGeneres voicing animals, first instinct is Finding Nemo.
Course.
Yeah.
So then they mention a third person.
Don't get me started on the fives.
Well,
we're about to.
We're about to get you started on the fives. And the third actor, who I don't remember off the top of my head, and it came out in 1998, and they voiced live action animals, and it was Dr. Dolittle. That was difficult, and it's interesting, and they might have planned that sort of thing. I mean, maybe it's just a total coincidence that it came out on the day that Coming to America was released. Jeff went through his head and he broke it down and he used his repeats wisely and he made an educated guess, and it was the correct guess from that. I'm
not gonna lie, I didn't get that. I didn't get it.
That was difficult for me. You know why? I forgot all about Dr. Dolittle even fucking existing.
Same. And whenever I give up, I just go to IMDb.
When I think live action animals talking, like when I thought of that, I'm like, is it the fucking zoo? That's exactly what I first thought.
I thought
I'm like, is it Zookeeper or something? I'm like, no, that's like not 1990. That's like 2000. I thought,
like, are they looking for like a sequel to Homeward Bound? Like, I'm like, what the hell is this?
I completely forgot about Dr. Dolittle, and then I added it to my HBO Max watch list.
And I should have rewatched Dr. Dolittle, but no. And honestly, if we're going to compare it to the other question, the 5 point that Dan got, and how breaking that down would go, because I see multiple people talk about that 5-pointer as well. But in regards to Snyder's, like, I didn't have the biggest problem with it because, like, obviously a lot of people were stumped. And to Jeff's point that he said at the top of the show, these questions are subjective. Like, to some folks,
see, but I didn't think about that. Like Chris, I'm like Homeward Bound,
right? And so, just to your point, like that's what Jeff was saying earlier. Like when you probably only watched that one movie, that one animal movie from the 1990s.
Yes.
And that's it.
So for me, One thing that really threw me off when I was thinking of it is Julie Kavner. I don't recognize the name. That's Marge Simpson. Yeah, that's Marge Simpson. But to me, I was thinking Julie Klausner, the creator and co-star with Billy Eichner in Difficult People, the Hulu series, which is very enjoyable. And in my head, I'm like, I don't know anything with her in it. What was she in the late 90s? So I mixed up the names because I've never heard of Julie. I didn't know Julie Kavner's name. And that's obviously the fault of The Simpsons prominence has fallen. But also sometimes long running animated shows, you don't necessarily know who the actors are. Kavner would have definitely that's a 5-pointer to mention a long running sitcom voice actor as one of the three people. It was difficult and he pulled it off, and that was great.
Yeah, I mean, it was an awesome moment. And the second he said Dr. Dolittle, I'm like, there's no way. Like Dr. Dolittle. And then they said it was correct. I'm like, oh my God, I'm dumb. Like
after his repeat, I went to 1999 animal movies, and the first thing that I Googled, first thing that popped up, Dr. Dolittle. I'm like, clicked on the cast list.
Yeah.
Like Ellen DeGeneres, Albert Brooks. Okay, it's Dr. Dolittle. And it's like, are you sure? I'm like, I just looked it up because I gave up on it.
I mean, and to some folks out there, they might be able to pull it because they know Ellen DeGeneres' filmography.
Yes.
So, at the same time,
now, if they had said Norm Macdonald and Chris Rock, I would have gotten it. I'm not even going to deny that.
Of course, they're not going to say, that's the thing. They're going to say Ellen. Yeah, and the thing, Jess, is like Jeff was talking about earlier. It totally depends on some folks. Like Liz Shannon Miller with the Tank Girl question. Her cat was named because of the damn movie. Yes. So that's what won her a match. So you also have to keep that stuff in mind too.
Yeah. Also, I'd like to correct Jessica. The only live action animal film from the 90s that you never mind, that you think of. Yeah. I thought you were saying the only one from the 90s. I'm like, there are definitely more of them. I misread that. I was about to be like, there is Homeward Bound, and there is I don't know, Mighty Joe Young or
Mighty Joe Young. He doesn't talk of Mighty Joe Young though.
No, but that was, she said, the only live animal films, and I misread it there because then there's what else? There's oh my God, I just had the title the tip of my tongue, and then I corrected about Mighty Joe Young. That's exactly George of the Jungle. That's what I was gonna say. George of the Jungle.
Yeah. What was that?
Technically Jumanji.
Technically Jumanji. But dance. So Snyder answers his 5 and swung back to Dan. And then the question was in the vein of what Will Smith movie does his character die because he's stung by a jellyfish? Is that what it was?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like how does he die by stung by a jellyfish?
Jellyfish in his tub. What Will Smith movie is this? And I'm like, the only reason I know that is because the premiere was in Cleveland. I know nothing else about that film. I took context clues. I'm like, I know Will Smith's filmography very well. I'm like, it's got to be 7 pounds because I remember he dies and donates all of his organs, and that's what the 7 pounds is.
Yeah. I think isn't 7 pounds also? No. I'm thinking of 21 grams. I was about to say how much a soul weighs. I mean, 7 pounds is not what I would characterize as a good movie. Because it's not. But it's a specific kind of thing where you can make an educated guess. It's not just that, I saw Christian's thing about you have to see the movie. You can also make an educated guess because think of Will Smith. Yeah. Think about his movies,
his filmography, and that's why
how many of his movies are all right. How many movies does he die? And of those ones there, how many does he die in such a weirdly specific fashion?
Right.
And the only one is 7 pounds.
Right. Yeah. And the second that Snyder heard the question, he's like, well, because
people all of us in my watch along, almost all of us were like, oh, we know it.
Right. And it just took context clues jellyfish tub, and that's my first thought. How many movies does Will Smith die in? And especially that weird ass way. And 7 pounds is the only one that came to my mind, unless it was something I hadn't seen before. So I'm like, okay, but that's again, I know the subjectivity, and not everyone's gonna think in that thought process, but at the same time, it's God, it just seemed of course it's going to be sus, and of course I'm going to be questionable of it because if I know the question, odds are it's easier. But the stuff with the 5-pointers in this match,
I thought they were fair. I'm probably one of the few people who say
they were
I thought
even.
They were even.
They were fair. They were fair. I would have probably. I mean, obviously, anyone can just sit back and be like, "I would have done it this way."
And here's the thing.
I get it. It's all subjective. Again, I mean, I might have, because of my personal experience, put it as like a 3-pointer. Right. But like, I get it for a lot of people why it could be a 5, because 7 pounds is also pretty forgotten in terms of like his films. So,
well, and here's my thing, and just says a 5-pointer from that movie would be what car was he driving that caused the crash. That's fair. But here's my thing. I sit here and I say to myself, Christian kind of told us how they were, because he went on backstage a while ago and talked about how they're trying to change the 5-pointer so they're more accessible. But on top of it, you go into the Facebook page the past few days, and the people who have watched it, there are people who are like, I didn't know Dan's, but I knew Jeff's, and people who have said I know both, and there are people who said, like me, I knew Dan's, but I didn't know Jeff's. It's and that's why it was, when I look at that, that's why I say it's fair. It's
totally fair. Just like it's exactly. And I think what really helped, and it's a pretty recent thing for me, actually. I mean, like I've always been like, like I'll judge in my head somehow, but also like I try to be like as accepting as possible because I know all the work that goes into it. Like what would really help me understand the subjectivity based on like what you have experienced and how people have experienced different things. And also you got to understand who the writers are and what their point of view is bringing to the kind of questions they write. Was actually the action industry's first episode of Root of the Question, the conversation about the undercover brother question, in which there was a whole big uproar in terms of like Drew's reaction to it, which was, he was like, I don't fucking know this. Who the fuck would know this sort of thing? And I'm like, well, the answer was Neil Patrick Harris. I knew it immediately because I love that movie. And, there are tons of other people that love that movie too, and they got it right away. But there are people who are obviously out and about saying, like, who are like, I don't know this movie. Why are they asking this thing? Why are they asking about a supporting character from this movie that no one remembers? Well, lots of people remember it. So there are people that would remember.
And see, Corey, they're both name that movie questions. Another reason why it was fair.
That too.
Yeah. So that's all it's difficult to really try to judge. Isn't the point?
Yes. And that's what Jeff is touching on. The difficulty to a question is always going to be subjective, because some people are going to have better experience with that question.
Of course. And just like, seriously, to me, the 7 pounds question was easier than the Little Women question.
Yes.
And the reason for that is just because I knew immediately that it wasn't even that. It was literally because it took me a second to remember which one was Joe and which one was Amy. But 7 pounds, I knew that immediately. So
I ain't gonna lie. I'm one of the few people who don't guessed Florence Pugh because I forgot Social was nominated for an Oscar for a quick second.
Yeah. I loved Little Women, but like it was literally just like it was a 50-50 shot, and I had to process to make sure I remembered their names. So
I don't know if you've heard how Winston talks about Little Women. He's like, he said I can objectively say it's a well-made and good film.
It's just not for him.
And that's how I feel about it. I'm like,
yeah,
valid. And so Jess, and another thing to answer your question, it all boils down to like the Schmoedown will be like this forever. Schmoedown will be like this till the end of time.
Did you watch Christian's video?
Yeah,
on the Facebook page, he literally said that it's going to be forever.
And that's where I will cite my source. Like I got that from the Christian video on Facebook. Like this Schmoedown will be like this forever. People will forever question the difficulty of a question because to some, oh my God, they probably thought that Little Women question was the hardest thing they've ever heard. But at the same time, like for folks like us, like whom like we all obviously seen Little Women and we know like we can name the actors and such, but it's going to be difficult for some more than others. But the one thing we didn't talk about in this that I at least want to shine a light on before Jess, I would like that they ask a question on a newer film about the main character and one of the most memorable scenes of the movie. That's why I have to respectfully disagree. No,
but a lot of people haven't seen 7 pounds.
a lot of people didn't. It underperformed. It was a weird. It was a weird.
It's
topic.
got a 23% on Rotten Tomatoes. Also,
I know you say newer, but in terms of how many films have come out,
movie's about 10 years old.
It's 12. It's over 12 years old because it was December 2008. So I don't want to say 13 yet because it's not quite. But like, yeah, it. Remember 2008. That was the year of Hancock. Right after I Am Legend in a 6 month in like a 6 month, 8 month period, and then as an afterthought,
I was an 8th grader when this movie came out.
Yeah,
I remember that.
I was in. I remember one thing I remember about 7 Pounds was I pirated the movie and I watched it online. Okay, and I was in high school, and then I remember a friend of mine in chemistry class. I said I didn't like the movie, and he loved it, and I couldn't like explain it to him in a way. Because I wasn't at the point yet where I can talk critically about something like to a good degree. And so the only thing I could say was it wasn't for me. And I remember 7 Pounds that way and explaining that as a junior it was because I was a junior in high school at the time, the fall 2008.
Nice to see you there, Danny.
Hey, Danny. So I was a junior in high school at the time when I watched that movie. And then I had that conversation with this friend of mine who asked that. So I remember clearly a conversation I had about the movie 12 plus years ago.
And by the way, that's awfully mature of you to say that wasn't for me at such a young age. That's awesome.
Now, if I rewatch it, I will break down why it's probably not a good movie.
See, Christian, and that's like I said, I've never seen the movie, but I remember my parents going to the premiere because they were having the world premiere at Valley View here in Cleveland. Yeah. I remember everyone making a big deal about Will Smith being in town for the world premiere of his film. So
yeah, I mean, like you think about the movies that like that it could have been. I mean,
there's
what other movies? There's very few. I don't know movies that he could have died in. Did he die in 6 Degrees of Separation? I don't know. I didn't watch that one. Like it's hard.
Yes, and that's the thing.
Hancock did way better than 7 Pounds.
I love Hancock. I am a Hancock.
I love
stan.
all of Hancock except the last like 20 minutes.
I can agree. I can.
Yeah.
Hancock is underrated, I believe, but I agree that last 20 minutes.
I think it's underrated. I think that the last act of it really lowers it tanks a lot of goodwill that people have for it, and I think that if they ever had a chance to like do something more, they could have probably explored it more. That could have been interesting, but oh well. He was great in it. And so you got to laugh the better superhero movie he was in.
Yeah, Matt, we know. Yes,
a lot of the goodwill is definitely gone by the end of that third act. You know what I mean? But the one thing I do want to say about this match that we didn't touch on, my favorite wheel slice ever, wrestlers in film was taken in the second round. And they were.
I was watching with Nick, and Nick was like, "Yes."
I was over the moon. Dan spun it twice. So if
I know someone who went perfect on this, who was in the Schmoedown.
I went perfect on that. I went perfect on it, and I don't know wrestlers. I was like, oh my god.
The only one I didn't get was the Hulk Hogan one.
I
didn't get condemned. No, I actually missed 2. I didn't get condemned, and I didn't get the Hulk Hogan one. Those are the 2.
You want to know how I got the condemned? Steve Austin. It was because, and it came out in 2007, and I used to get Entertainment Weekly. And I remember Entertainment Weekly had like different paragraph lengths, like sometimes a full page for a movie review. And sometimes if they didn't feel like discussing that much, they would give like a very tiny, like a blurb. It was like basically twice the size of a blurb on Rotten Tomatoes. They would have, so they could do multiple ones in a page. And The Condemned had a D- rating from Entertainment Weekly that was like 2 sentences long. And it was even the ones where they asked the title of the film. And
Hulk Hogan.
What movie did Hulk Hogan star in? Hulk Hogan. How do I know Suburban Commando? Because I watched the Nostalgia Critic review. I was frozen today. We all in the chat, multiple people of us that have watched along, we're all like, I was frozen today. Like, you remember that stuff. They weren't the hardest questions because it's a new category.
Yeah, and that's exactly. I'm like Dan. I think will get this because of the fact I thought back to LSM and the SNL category. I'm like, it's a newer category. Dan's probably gonna go perfect.
So I just wanted to mention that that was out of all the wheel slices I saw this past week, that was my favorite. Wrestlers in film. I mean I had to bug that into our fan league because it wasn't too
all Schmoedown categories are now in fan league, so you get what you want.
It wasn't too cool enough. But after bugging them, and now the Schmoedown actually took a page from us and Chris Jericho to put wrestlers in film.
we did athletes in film. That's what we can.
Yeah, that was a compromise, but it was initially wrestlers in movies, and it was just really cool to see that. And I know the Chris Jericho name drop was definitely there, but I just wanted to mention that was my favorite wheel slice of all last week. It probably of the whole damn Schmoedown, and we just got it.
Well, we
never watched wrestling.
Yeah, so neither have I. So before we go, because this we went an hour longer than expected. Wow, but we did have 4 matches to talk about. We had an interview, so I'm not shocked.
When 4 matches, an interview,
6 cutscenes,
a bunch of cutscenes. We didn't really touch on it because it was fucking useless. But the Roca,
I said it was dumb. It was dumb.
It was dumb.
Yeah.
It was like super cringy, and it's like trying to build up this thing of like Roca is gonna like come back.
I know someone who watches the show is gonna be texting me at any moment to tell me that was pure art, and I'm
thinking we got
like
those that night, Matt. Like,
and like I was watching it. I'm like, this is cringe. And then I text like Buck, and he's like, this is cringe. And then like I mentioned it with other people, and they're like, this was cringe. I mean, what's funny is they're like, let's make fun of Bateman, and also it's Roca. Finally, it's been a while, but he was able to do a scene without tipping his hat down, so you could read the script off the screen, as he did the last few times. But it wasn't even done in one take. Corey's right. They cut it a few times.
There's a cut. There's a cut.
Probably because Roca was like line, and so but it's like they're trying to build this thing as like Roca's going to come back and then destroy Dan. First of all, Roca, you're going to lose to Liz Shannon Miller, and he's going off to a singles tournament or a singles championship match. Maybe you should, I don't know.
Focus on your match.
Shut the fuck up.
Whoa.
Oh my Lord.
That went 0 to 100 real quick.
With that being said, let's do predictions real quick for the matches this week.
Yes.
Continuity.
Yes. So,
and by the way, I know that there's the patron thing that dropped today. I haven't checked it out. I've been super busy this whole time. I haven't even seen it.
Do we know which match was sent out to the patrons?
Today was
Saul
and John Humphrey.
Okay, cool. So for Saul and John Humphrey, I'm gonna go Saul.
Yeah,
Saul's on my fantasy team, so Saul has to win.
Okay. Brother Lomas and Frankie Alvarez.
Oh, damn it.
I'm gonna go Frankie.
Yeah, I know nothing about Brother Lomas. I don't know how I feel about someone being like a godly character coming into this, and it rubs me a weird way, especially because we're not allowed to see anything about him. And I believe, based on Little Bit's understanding, I think it would be Frankie.
I'm thinking Frankie. I think this match is going to be a fight, though. I'm going to say that because I do know. Yeah. I know a little bit behind the scenes. I've been told the brother's the real deal.
Well, yeah, that's fine. I hope he is, because I'm hoping that I don't want like you have Christian building him up because of character. That's cool. I want to see him built up because he has character and knowledge.
Yes.
So let's see if that knowledge comes through.
Chris, what do you got? Who do you got?
Oh man. Lomas has a lot of hype as a character. He has a lot of pressure because of it. That being said, it's going to sink him. I have Frankie Alvarez.
Okay.
Yeah, remember who was the last person that Christian as a rookie hyped the shit out of?
Frankie.
Frankie Alvarez?
He hyped Frankie, Lomas, and Rager.
Before this draft class.
Someone who showed that they have knowledge, but didn't go very far last year.
Oh my God. Who are you talking about?
Parker.
Oh my
Parker,
god.
So
I mean-
then and now look, obviously Parker can go far, but here's the thing. We're going to see whether or not Christian really hyping you up is a blessing or a curse.
The Christian seal of approval isn't always a good thing. And that's my fear for people like Lomas, for people like the Rager, you know, for Rick Radis. Like I'm scared because they got the seal of approval from Christian. That's a lot of pressure. And like you just mentioned, Robert Parker, he was good, but he did not live up to his potential, at least last season. He didn't live up to the hype.
Yeah. And
he set out for 80% of the year. So after losing the chance.
Exactly. So
I have Alvarez taking this, and I don't believe Lomas is all that great because we haven't seen him. How do I know? How do I know?
And by the way, I just want to backtrack a bit to the Roka comment I said. Obviously that was poking fun.
Yes.
I like him. It is just it is the route in which he might have to take that I find just funny. So Roka, don't actually shut the fuck up, because otherwise how can we hear more weird shit come out of your mouth? Anyways, let's continue.
Hey, come on our show, please.
I wish, Shug. I wish.
Shug's out here gassing you up.
Yeah, but the last match we got, because there's no live match this week. This one should be a live match, in my opinion. Ellis and Meyer.
I'm gonna go Meyer.
I want to go Meyer, but my gut says Chance.
I want to go Meyer because the only reason why Meyer didn't go further was because of a deep back and forth overtime with Collins. He shows that he has what it takes. Remember, the same thing happened with Dan. It went real fucking far, and it was a blood. It was
Myers
punch for punch.
always knocking on the door. That's the thing. I'm like, Chance. Just talking to him more recently, there's something about him where I think he realizes he is the player of corruption right now.
No, he absolutely is. Like he's deadly serious about the thing, just getting this shit done. You could tell, but I think I don't know. I feel there's just based on seeing their singles performances, as well as their team's performances for a good chunk last fall. I believe Meyer is going to. It's going to be a fight. It's going to be brutal. I think. I think Meyer is going to eke out the victory.
Fuck, you talked me into Meyer. God damn it, I'm going Meyer now. Fuck it.
Come on, man, be the contrarian, or one of us. One of us. Why don't you rub your eyes some more?
I think that Brendan Meyer. I think Brendan Meyer was in the most underrated match of last year with Adam Collins. That match got no love at the end of the year, and it was a fucking crime.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh my god. I'm looking at them. I wrote the matches down, and oh my god, I want to pick Chance really bad.
But then you remember that match. See, that's the thing. I completely forgot about that match. Kusha reminded me. It's like,
and Meyer, like although he lost the tag belts, they still played a really good game.
Yeah.
And they got talk about screwed on a 5-pointer.
Here's the other thing. Meyer is the reverse Snyder to me, because Meyer will miss a question, but unlike Snyder, he can actually pull himself back into the match by himself and not let it get to him.
A lot of people could do that.
I have Chance on my fantasy team.
It's called being a player.
What are you trying to say about Jeff?
I'm trying to say that I like him. I think I consider him a friend to a certain extent, and I can't wait for him to one day be on our channel.
Jeff is the reason I am on Schmo Me the Money Tomorrow. Come on, Chris. Just you got to pick one.
I have Chance on my fantasy team.
Here's the deal. Hey. Here's the deal. Is this prediction going towards your whole dinner thing?
It is.
So here's what's going to happen. All right.
One of us is going to go up one. That's basically what this goes down to. One of us is going to go up one.
Well, here's
Ellison.
the deal.
He's going Ellison. That's why
you're going Ellison because
that's not what I said.
Here's what I was gonna say: is that if you also went Meyer with him,
we went
Meyer as well,
the same one.
You'd stay the
third
same
time in a row.
If you go Ellison and you're wrong,
I go
then
up
he
one.
goes one more. He goes one more up. So it's
a poison pill either way.
There is a 33% chance that you win out choosing Ellison, but that's going to be the same way it goes every single time you pick something.
I care about my fantasy team so much. Shout out to the guys at Schmoes of the North who put me in this. This is awesome. My team name, by the way, is Homeboy and the Heartbreakers. If I had a band, that's what the name would be. I'm picking a Meyer for the sake of this. I'm rooting for Chance.
He doesn't want to pay up for dinner. That's why.
Not yet. It's too early in the year.
You see, even making a prediction, there's a strategy behind it.
Meyer, Chance, please a win for the love of God for the sake of the points in my fantasy league. And I do. Do I have Alvarez? No, I don't. No. Oh, I got Saul though. Big week from fantasy league.
Yes.
Big week. I'm excited. Is that it? Are we good?
Yeah, that's it. That's the show. Thank you for everyone who's tuned in. Be sure to check out Show Me the Money tomorrow.
Show me the money.
Yeah, if you want to plug anything else before we go.
Yeah, my phone in. Let me see. I got Show Me the Money, and we have a couple different shows. Every week, Tuesdays around 9:30, we have our main show, which is basically like movie talk around the horn, but like we judge you while you try and give your opinions on stuff. Shug here saying that things are disappointing. I know you were disappointing in that first match too. And other than that, we have right now on Friday nights. It's going to be moving to Thursday after this week. At midnight Eastern, 9 Pacific, we have started something called The Family Show.
God damn it! You had to move that to Thursday at midnight. Fuck.
No, it's Thursdays at 9:30. We're going to be doing 9:30 o'clock. But it's going to be midnight this Friday. We're going on our second episode, doing a retrospective on the Fast and Furious franchise. Oh, sorry, Shug. Did not mean to do that as an insult. My bad. Sorry, I thought you were saying my week was disappointing as I was describing my week. I don't like that I'm being zoomed in right now. You could pull me out of this. It could be all of you on screen right now. But yeah, that's really it. I mean, we got the family show. I think we got an interview that we have set up with people this Thursday. I believe it's Mike Deacon and Bethany Curl from What the Show. So we're going to pit these engaged couples soon to be married against each other. Sorry, Shug. I'm sorry.
How's my week going to be disappointing? Humphrey going to beat Saul? Come on, Shug. Go ahead, Jeff. I'm sorry.
I don't have anything left to say.
But no,
I don't know. Be good.
Yes. But no,
that's
the show. Be sure to check out Really Scared this Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. The guys have Metazoology coming on, if I remember correctly. And they're going to be talking about the Mothman Chronicles. I want to make sure I got that right.
I believe that's the case. In the meantime, you can check out Wrestle Real on Fridays. Wrestle Real Fridays, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. I'll talk about the latest and greatest in wrestling from our point of view. We will not.
The Mothman Prophecies with Metazoo. Yes.
Thank you. I thought the Chronicles sounded right.
Didn't Chris Stuckman just do a review on that?
Possibly.
That sounds familiar. What else we got on the channel? Real Talk on Sundays, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. We have what else we do, Matt?
He did.
Stay tuned on our channel for lots of updates going forward. Things changing, not things changing, but we just have new things coming, and we're really excited for them. So just keep in mind our channel, subscribe, follow us on Twitter at the bottom, Spin from the Reels for Show's Twitter. My Twitter, C Anthony Lopez, and Matt's Twitter, WattMovies_Matt. And Jeff, please follow and support Jeff and all his.
It's at GEOFF1106 on Twitter. You can follow me there. I tweet things, and I hope the show found you well.
And sub to Show Me the Money, because Show Me the Money is so much fun. Matt and I have had the pleasure of being on it multiple times. Their channel, being on a few times, and it's a lot of fun. Yeah. So check them out tomorrow. I mean, Matt's will be back on it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the show. So remember, folks, spin from the reel, not the peg. Have a good night. Peace.
Yeah.